All right, we're live. Oh, how are we doing? We've got the last of the debates for now. Coming up in 10 minutes. It's been a bit of a wild week. 3 debates on the bounce this week. We had Roger Yates on Sunday. We had Todd Thurman on Tuesday. And Skyjack Morgan today. Hey Poe, how's it going? Nice to see you, thanks for joining. So we'll have that firing up. Hey Bretta, how's it going? We'll have that firing up in just about 10 minutes. I'm going to message Skyjack Morgan now. That seems like a mouthful to say. Is that the proper way to address Skyjack Morgan? It's a lot of words. Indeed, Andrew, yeah, indeed. Probably will work tomorrow, honestly. Bank holidays for me, I always think, oh, I can work without getting emails or meetings. Is that tragic? I don't know. I'm married to the game, baby. Thank you, Poe. I appreciate that. Which one do you listen to? The Todd Thurman or the Roger Yates? I feel like both went pretty well. I'm getting better at articulating myself. I've watched back some of them for the purpose of making clips. And invariably I'm like, Jesus, get to the point, man. So I'm going to try and do that more. I also ordered a fancy camera update today. So that'll be happening in a few weeks' time. It's coming from Japan, so it'll take a minute. But we're moving off the webcam onto a proper camera. The Todd Thurman one, yeah, I thought that was pretty good. The guy speaks a lot though. Like there were points in that debate where I was like, geez, it's been like 10 minutes, I haven't said anything. Especially at the start. After a while, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start interrupting and like just butting him out of the way and making space for myself. Because he did like honestly about 10 minutes straight. And then I was writing down everything I had to respond to. I reacted to the first thing. Yeah, I appreciate that, Poe. Yeah, it came off a couple of times. You got to do it. You got to do it, because otherwise they'll just ramble. I think that can be a tactic as well when you suspect you have the weaker position in the debate. True, Andrew. Local grassroots cameras. This guy's live now? Okay, fair. I just messaged him on Instagram. Yeah, hopefully he hasn't forgotten us. I'm not going to lie, I haven't really done any prep for this debate. I did quite specific prep for Roger Yates and for the Todd Thurman debate, but this one, partly I feel is a little bit lower stakes. But maybe that's naive of me. I feel like I know the content kind of better, and I feel like I'm quite familiar with the vegan arguments against welfarism, and I feel like I know where it's going to go and what to say already. But yeah, fair to say compared to my other debates at least this week, I have not done as much prep, but we'll see. We'll see if that shows. What they call a Wagyu camera from Japan. There's some pretty gross news that I've just seen on The Guardian. Headline only, not going to lie. But it relates to the Communities Against Factory Farming thing that I shared in the Vegan 2.0 5 minutes video. And basically the chicken industry has been lobbying the government to try and change the planning permission laws to make it easier for them to build new factory farms. Hey, Ben from Berlin, how's it going? Nice to see you again. Yeah, that's right, another ethics debate, bro. Another ethics debate. I want to say that a lot of the anti-welfarism is born of confusion, ultimately. But we'll see. People tell me that SJM can be spicy. I haven't really seen much of him, any clips. But people tell me he is a talker, so we'll see. We'll see how we get on. Oh, nice, Andrew. That's awesome. Volunteering with Kath in Wiltshire next week. What does volunteering with them consist of? Is it not... I thought most of what they do is just direct the responses, like the council responses to planning permission. I guess maybe they do more stuff than that. Philomena Kunk, yeah, she is. She's vegan. She's also very active as well. Diane Morgan is the actress's name. She's also very active. She does parliamentary events and does, goes and supports pro-animal motions and stuff like that. Interesting, Andrew. You know what? That was actually, I'm not going to lie, that is kind of something that stumped me a little bit in the Roger Yates debate. He said, and I think this is kind of right. It depends on how much the new farms are about, like, moving animals from older farms versus just adding new production capacity. But he said if you're blocking new farms that are, more spacious or whatever, improve welfare, that could end up being a bad thing. I just said I assume that and I don't really know, honestly. I said I assume that to some extent this is adding more production capacity, such as more animals being farmed, there's more factory farms being built. But there definitely could be cases where it's kind of backfiring in a welfare sense. But yeah, you're right. Reduction needs to be centre stage for sure. Oh, nice, Andrew. That's awesome. Leafleting, doing a stall about a new application in the area. Yeah, because I said in my video, and I think this is right, you don't need to be from the area to object. But presumably local objections do carry more weight, because it's supposed to be people saying, we don't want the pollution in this area or whatever. Now, you can file objections, and I guess they are somewhat taken into account, but yeah, it's the council obviously ultimately making the decision, and they're elected by only the local people, so probably the local ones are carry more weight. Hey Tone, how's it going? Nice to see you. Hey Sabby Coops. Oh shit, yeah, it's 5 now. Alright, let's jump on. Look at me chatting away. No one else is here. Okay, that's good. Right, let's kill the camera over here. There we are. Gemini's taking notes. Good to know. Do you know, after I finished the Todd Thurman debate, I took the Gemini notes and gave it to my Claude. Such an AI nerd. I was like, tell me how I've done based on the Gemini notes from the call. It actually gave pretty good feedback, honestly. It said the one thing I didn't say, he brought up B12, and I had prepared to talk about B12 supplements being given directly to livestock, but I didn't talk about that. I did have my B12 sups on the desk, though. 10 cents a pill for 1,000 times the RDA, or 1,000% of the RDA. That's really, really base, Andrew. Next week, nice. Many people are saying this, Tone. Now, has he remembered us? That's the question. We can check out his stream, actually.
Bullshit birthright citizenship claim is all about trying to disenfranchise you so that you have zero recourse to do anything about the billionaires who are skinning you alive.
I guess he's not remembered us.
No regard for human life. And you're okay with it because Donald Trump says he likes that. He's not delivered on any of his promises, but you guys still love him. 33% of you still think that he's a stand-up guy.
Separate case in June of 2025.
He's doing more Trump content. I think he's genuinely forgotten.
4 court judges had limitations. The CASA case dealt with the procedural challenges to Trump's executive order, but it still left an open question as to whether it complied with the 14th Amendment.
This could create...
Yes, shit, Chris. Sorry, I forgot. I got all carried away. Chris Bryant, you're absolutely right. Sorry, I'll be right there. I got to end the stream. Chris, I see you. My bad.
No, one he's just
Totally
like
got
to
carried away
it.
here on my stream, and I will be right there. Sorry, Chris. I'll be right there. I got to cancel the members-only stream. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I'll see you in just a second.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, no, I forgot.
So friggin' much.
I feel kind of bad. He was about to do members-only stream and everything. He could have streamed this convo. Oh, well. I'll take his audience, I guess. Can people... Alright, well, Brian, indeed. Alright, well, hopefully some of his guys come over here. Let's link the stream in their chat. Goodness me. He was really flowing there. I feel a little bit bad to interrupt him, honestly. Oh well. Good thing I checked, eh? Well, seems like there's a decent number of people in that stream, so maybe they'll come over here. We'll see. I know he didn't just stream on his side as well. That's what I kind of assumed would happen. Alright, debate's coming up soon, guys. If you're just joining, we're running a few minutes late here, but we are ready to go. We've got the Gemini notes already on the boil, so don't worry about it. Hi, Sky, how are you doing?
Terribly sorry about that. I was on a roll and I lost track. Man, it's...
No worries at all. Yeah, you seemed like you were on a roll. I thought you were going to stream your side as well. You're free to. You didn't have to finish out.
I don't know that I could do that on. I don't know how to do that with StreamYard and Google Meet. I can't even get my background to work right now, so I'm just going to be a green screen. Sorry about that.
Okay, damn. No worries. All right. Well, I felt like we could have coordinated that a bit better to have done it on both sides, but never mind. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that, on Google Meet, it's a little bit different. I don't know. Do you use OBS or how are you doing it?
I'm doing it through OBS. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, great. Are we live right now?
We're live already. Yeah. Sorry,
excellent.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry about that. I was on a roll talking about birthright citizenship in this country, and it was. I don't know if you heard. We're at war. We're doing a lot of stuff over here in the United States. It's kind of a shit show. So there I was, kind of ranting and raving about how we're taking away people's rights in this country, and basically, canceling elections, the whole thing. We're kind of barreling down into a situation I don't know any of us are ever going to get out of.
Damn, but is that on the cards? The elections? People have been saying that he might do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the SAVE Act is really scary. What's going on with that? He wants to make sure that people can't. In order to steal an election, you really only have to screw with about 12 counties in all of America. So, like, you could game the system pretty easily if you can just mess with a couple. You don't have to mess with the whole country. Like, we'll still have elections, like they do in Iran. You could have an illiberal democracy pretty easily in this country if you do it. But that's how it goes. Yeah, it's a crazy time to be in America.
It really is. Yeah. Well, you certainly have my sympathy there. It's like historically bad. It really is.
It's particularly vile right now. Yeah, like we're never batting 1,000, but right now it's pretty rough. But hey, Keir Starmer's on the case. We're gonna be okay. Everyone's gonna.
Yeah, let's hope so. I think standing up to Trump on Iran has sort of boosted his popularity here, I dare say, because everybody here dislikes Trump pretty much.
Yeah.
Like even right wingers, like, yeah.
Yeah, he's a bit much, isn't he?
He's a bit much. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, he's a bit much. But I do a call-in show and stuff, and people, it's hard because we got 33% of people like him, and they are really hardcore. So it's like a lot of these things. People have faith in these institutions, and it's really difficult to erode that faith in order to have any kind of meaningful change. And I guess that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, you and I, is faith in institutions and these orgs and stuff. And I'm not like a master debater, but I do like the Hegelian dialectic where we might come together with and maybe both grow out of a conversation for sure.
Nice, yeah. Well, neither, honestly. I think this is like the 7th or like about 7th debate that I've done on YouTube. So pretty, I haven't done a ton of this, but I do have some thoughts on welfarism and incrementalism. I guess that's the main framing for our discussion. Yeah.
Yes, because someone actually came out on my channel was going, well, you got to reach out to Chris Bryant because he's talking about how you can actually someone who is an animal abuser could actually have a greater effect on animal welfare by donating money to one of our big orgs. And I don't know, is that the claim? Is that something that you adhere to?
There's certainly a claim. Yeah, I think that there's a certain number of animals saved per dollar donated to, in particular, effective animal charities, and honestly, it's pretty modest amount of money that you have to donate to get to being the same amount of animals that you don't eat by being vegan. Now, I'm also vegan, and I think people should do both, like donate as well as being vegan. But, you know, if you're counting out the animals, I do think it's true that somebody who's not a vegan could even be helping more animals than somebody that is if they're donating in the right places.
I guess, like, I would immediately ask, do you think that veganism is a tool by which to fight animal abuse? Do you think that I don't think that's effective at all to be vegan. Even I don't think that's the promise of veganism. Like, go vegan and you'll save animals. That's just a lie. I guess some outreachers tell people in the street. It's not true, right? Like in America, the overwhelming majority of money going to dairies, for example, 73% to 77% is paid for through tax subsidies and government contracts. So like me going vegan has zero effect on what goes on there. Me going vegan saves 0 animals. So I guess like it's pretty easy to say like, okay, well, if I gave money to an organization, that would have a greater effect. But then you said that there's effective organizations. Which ones?
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's super interesting. Yeah, and the subsidies is certainly an issue. I think the way it works in Europe, at least, is that most basically subsidies are paid on farm area, and because livestock, hungry animals consume a lot of crops, that's the reason why they take up most land, basically, in their supply chain, essentially. I do still think that being vegan will result in fewer animals being farmed than not, even although that could be diluted to some extent by subsidies. I suppose the idea as well is that if everybody was vegan, there would be no point in subsidizing the industries. And I think even from the government's perspective, they're like, they would rather not have to be doing these subsidies, right? And it's kind of viewed as a food security thing. And if we're the only country not subsidizing the food system, then we're going to have more expensive food, and that's like a pretty quick way to lose elections, basically. So
subsidy and also just like the failure of giant corporations that are making far more money selling crops, cash crops. They call them cash crops because you can turn them into cash really quickly by selling them to animals and not people, right? So like all these corporations would fail. Even if we said no subsidy because whatever, the government's run short on cash or whatever, they're not going to let these corporations fail anywhere. If everyone just woke up tomorrow and went vegan, and it's kind of a pipe dream. We always talk about these things like in the future everyone's going to be vegan and we're not going to do this stuff, but that's like veganism is 100 years old. It's coming up on 100 years. In what, 20 years? Leslie Cross will have been talking. We will have been reading Leslie Cross for 100 years in about 20 more, and nothing's changed. Still, about 1% of the world is vegan. Nothing has actually changed. So this idea that we're just gonna like everyone's gonna go vegan and we're gonna for every vegan that we convert, that somehow that's gonna save an animal, that's just I think that's a myth. It hasn't played out in the evidence. We're eating more animals than ever before. More animals are being slaughtered today than they were 100 years ago. The problems have gotten worse, not better. And veganism is a word that we all know. There's more vegan options in the supermarkets. And yet, all those promises, I've been vegan, I don't know how long I've been vegan. I've been vegan 21 years, man. And from the very beginning, it was stuff like, I believed the lie when they said, one day we'll have plant burgers that taste identical. And they have the price parity and everything. And who would choose to kill an animal once you have that? Well, of course, I was foolish. I didn't realize that there'd be this propaganda machine against me and a propaganda machine against veganism and against liberty, I think. So the promises that our, if you want to call it a movement, have made, they were bullshit. They're lies. And I don't see how even entertaining the idea that going vegan will save one animal is useful at all. And I think it's untrue,
Well, I was warned that you'd be good content, Sky, and you are not disappointing. All right, there's a few things there. Well, actually, first, just let me ask, like, what is the point of being vegan if you don't think it has any impact on animals?
The point of being vegan is the same reason I don't beat my kids or beat my wife, right? I don't save abused children by not beating my children. I don't stop spousal abuse.
You save your children from abuse, right? You save some.
No, it's
you
just
don't
who
stop
I
the whole
am.
thing.
I don't save them from that because that's not a possibility. I would never have beaten my children. And so I'm not fighting the animal abuse, the child abuse movement by abstaining from beating my own children. By not beating my wife, that's just an expression of who I am. I'm not fighting spousal abuse. If I want to fight spousal abuse, I'll volunteer at the battered woman shelter. If I want to fight spousal abuse, I'll be an advocate for women. I'll show up in court. I'll vote. There's a ton of ways to do that, right? And we can argue about the efficacy of those things. But by not beating women, I do not save any women, right? I don't save my neighbor's beating a woman. By me not beating my wife, the neighbor's still beating his wife. I've not done anything. I've accomplished zero.
In a sense, I agree with that. And that is kind of what I talk about with what I call Vegan 2.0, which is going beyond just the abstaining from it and not doing it yourself to trying to interact with broader systems. And that would be like the volunteering at the women's shelter or whatever else. Like
activism.
To actually... activism, yeah. I've rebranded it though, so that's very,
you're gonna run into some problems because the word is toxic. At the end of the day, a vegan is a conscientious.
Yeah, for sure.
A vegan is just a conscientious objector to the horror show of animal exploitation, of slavery, of oppression. Now, so you might get into a conversation about intersectionalism or whatever, but at the end of the day, I'm against oppression. I'm a liberationist more than I'm a vegan. By practicing veganism, that's just, of course, why wouldn't I? How would you take me seriously if I came and I told you I was a feminist, but I also beat and raped women or did horrible things to women? You'd laugh in my face. But one of the suggestions you're making is, I think, respectfully, that you might be an animal abuser and call yourself someone who helps animals. You see, like that would be incongruous to say that, well, this person who's an animal abuser gives money to XYZ organization. And I do want to circle back to that because I don't think there's any organizations that are helpful, but or effective, I should say, that if I do that, then I'm actually a good guy or something. You'd laugh in my face. If you said a feminist, I beat women, but I'm an animal welfarist, but I eat animals. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I see what you're saying. So that's an interesting framing. So I don't, and I know that a lot of people do think about it in terms of, am I being a good person or am I being a bad person? I think almost exclusively in terms of the consequences and the impacts on the world. So it's not, I wouldn't say you're a good person or you're a bad, well, I mean, I might also say that, but it's kind of, I would consider it a separate thing. It would definitely be possible for somebody to be helping more women by interacting with charities in a particular way. Like if that's borne out by data showing that you can help X number of women for Y amount of money or whatever.
But then the same guy goes home and beats his wife.
Well, certainly I would think that's bad. And I think that it's bad to be consuming animal products as well. Like I do think that you ought to be vegan as well. I do think it would still be able to be true that you are having a better effect on animals or women overall by, right, can you see what I mean? I'm talking about very much in terms of the effects on the outcomes as opposed to like the individual's own moral character or whatever.
I get the urge to put everything in a closed spreadsheet like an effect. Are you an effective altruist? Because you kind of sound like an effective altruist. Oh Jesus! All right, so that's like that's the billionaire's way. That's how capitalism flourishes. We put everyone on a spreadsheet, and everyone's worth X amount of money, and by the way, or X amount of widgets or whatever you want to call it. And then we put their suffering in another column, and we can count that somehow. We make some numbers up, and then we can plug it all into a spreadsheet, And if we apply this formula, then we can somehow lower this sum at the bottom of this column of my spreadsheet.
I know you're saying this sarcastically, but I'm like, that sounds base. Like, send me the spreadsheet.
Does it sound great? Yeah. I mean, it sounds great if everyone fits into a spreadsheet. If you look at everyone as dollars and cents, sure, this is why billionaires love effective altruism, because it puts everything into this type of everything becomes an algorithm. But that's not principle. That's not values. I have a value that women should be allowed to do whatever they want and shouldn't have to be oppressed by men. Maybe in my activism, I might want to start building some spreadsheets so that I can, since I only have a limited amount of time and money on this earth and resources, I want to apply them. But that has really not much to do with my values and principles, right? That has to do with how can I effectively assign my time, and we're going to have some flaws and starts, and we're going to have some lies about that, and all sorts of things. We have lots of experimentation when it comes to the efficacy of these things. But I feel like we've been doing this a long time in animal rights. Haven't moved the needle much. In fact, it's gone the wrong way. And effective altruists are trying to build better electric chairs for shrimp so that we can kill them more quickly and mitigate their suffering. Well, that seems like a misallocation of funds and attention if really we should just stop exploiting each other. Zoom out, have some values and principles that we might be able to agree on, which we claim to, by the way. We claim to agree on those values and principles. So let's just align our actions with our values and be done with it.
Yeah, I think so. But I think there can be more or less efficient ways to instantiate one's values. Like, the reason that billionaires, to the extent that that's true, I suspect it probably is true to a large extent, billionaires like effective altruism, because you can kind of put everything into a spreadsheet and into a formula and everything else. Like, you got to hand it to billionaires. They've been good at doing what they set out to do in terms of making a lot of money. Whatever else you might think, like, they've been successful.
They're avericious monsters, and we reward greed and greed and cupidity. I mean, this is something that we're
but they've you might disagree with the starting values of, like, my thing is I'm going to try and get as much money as possible and fuck everything else. I don't care about any other kind of outcomes. Like, I would agree with you. That's like an objectionable thing. That said, clearly some people have been very successful at achieving that thing, and I think invariably billionaires and funders of the animal movement will be in tune and sensitive to things like, what's the return on investment in a specific campaign. Like, we want to help as many, and now we're shifting the objective here. We're going to, never mind making as much money as possible, we're going to try and help animals as much as possible, and therefore we need new spreadsheet, right? We need a new algorithm. We're going to put it together. And I think that, to me, is a very appealing way of approaching the whole thing, because we are, you and I there will still be animal suffering or exploitation, however you want to think about it, going on when you and I leave this world. But we can change the amount of it by interacting in more optimal ways. If we had the option for that amount to go to zero, that'd be great. And I think the only way we ever would get there is by trying to approach zero as efficiently as possible. But we don't have a big green vegan world now button. And in the absence of that, all we have is incrementalism and trying to do things as efficiently as possible and move things in the right.
And I don't know, because we've been doing that. We haven't always called it effective altruism, but we've always been doing that. We've been allocating funds through these organizations that just are another hierarchical shit show. And we place everything into this capitalist paradigm that just perpetuates the problem. It's not that different from manumission and abolition. Like, manumission was the same idea. Like, oh, we're going to have softer whips for the slaves. We're going to pass laws that means you got to teach your slaves how to read. We're going to have laws that you can't castrate your slaves anymore. And you might argue, well, didn't that do something great for slaves? They weren't castrating them anymore. But we still had to fight a bloody war to make slavery illegal. And did that solve racism? No. But race-based birthed into slavery has more or less ended in our countries, right? 1833, I think, for you guys, 1865 for us. You know, not that 30 years difference between the UK and America abolishing slavery, and it didn't happen just by incrementally changing things. You had to have these sea change moments, and yes, blood.
Yeah. Certainly, yes. And there would have been more and less effective ways to bring around those sea change movements as well. Like there would have been more and less like better or worse designed anti-slavery leaflets or whatever the thing was at the time, right? And I do think this is one thing that we can get into. I'm writing things down. There's a lot that we can kind of circle back to, I think. I do think that would be like the equivalent of the welfarist measures, where now you have to teach your slaves to read, and you could say, well, fat lot of good that is, they're still slaves, like this is still abhorrent. And absolutely,
they also found loopholes. They found loopholes to not do it. They would do things like take slave children, drop them off on the side of the road, have them picked up by slave catchers, and then integrated into the same plantation so that they weren't slaves that were born there. And they did all sorts of weird loopholes to try to avoid these laws.
Yeah. I think that's similar with a lot of laws, like, you know, if you do end up chasing loopholes like that to some extent. But I would say to the extent that that's to the extent that that is able to be enforced and observed, like, it's not, I think this is the key thing, we can get on to talking about welfare measures, is not just that now there's better conditions for those slaves because they know how to read, but actually it imposes an expense on having slaves now. Now you've got to fucking teach them to read. You've got to take time or pay someone to do that. And so it makes it less economically viable, which is a big part of how slavery came to an end, that it just like wasn't that economically viable anymore. A lot of it was to do with I believe a lot of it was to do with sugar beets being discovered, and now you could grow sugar that wasn't in
there was stuff like that, but there was mostly, it was workers' rebellions. It was people who saying, hey, you're hiring slaves to do a job that was ours, and we're not going to stand for it. There was a lot of that with the gold rush, and some other kind of land exploitation that they were trying to insert slavery into that. Like in California, it became a big thing once they discovered gold. They tried to put slaves into California to dig the gold, and so that became obviously a conflict. And that was happening all over the world in the British Empire as well. But like all those laws,
that's interesting because it ends up being like very quite pragmatic economic arguments.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons. There. It's one of the reasons why labor unions get labeled as racist or xenophobic, is because of these types of things. Like Cesar Chavez, who's now disgraced, before that he said all sorts of things about like slurs about Mexican immigrants and Filipino immigrants because he didn't like them, because he thought that the union was important and he didn't like foreigners coming in and taking the jobs and working for less money.
I see.
So you get like conflicts like that happen, and you're right, like it becomes pragmatic to do it. But the English Empire, they can't really maintain it, right? They couldn't maintain the slave. It becomes a kind of just a big burden trying to enforce all these laws and creating another bureaucratic level on this stuff.
Exactly, and I think that's going to be similar for animal farming. They're currently considering in the UK banning cages for egg-laying hens. And now an anti-welfare is going to look at that very skeptically. Okay, the animals are still being exploited, and you know, I had a conversation recently. Are they actually better off in cage-free systems? They're still in these like crowded barns. Now they have worse air quality because they're flapping around and rocking up dust or whatever.
Higher likelihood of combustion. They burn down all the time because they don't have.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. But the point is, it makes it more expensive and more difficult to maintain, and it makes it more competitive for plant-based alternatives. Like tofu manufacturers are loving that law, right? Like eggs just got more expensive now.
Eggs get more expensive, but then they just become more subsidized, or that becomes a political talking point, or they pass the cost on to the consumer, and the consumer is brainwashed and advertised towards so that tofu is nasty and eggs are delicious. That's how they look at it.
All of that stuff can happen and does happen to some extent, but it's a constant battle like this, right? Like you have the propaganda against plant-based meat, for example, but plant-based meat is getting cheaper and beef's getting more expensive, so that's gonna and if nothing else, they have to pay for that propaganda, so that's costing them money as well. Hopefully they do pass on the cost to consumers,
but they don't pay for the propaganda. They don't pay for that. They're part of checkoff programs. The The taxpayer, I'm paying for it.
Okay, yeah,
The
well, that's bad as
USDA
well.
pays
That's
for it.
I mean, that's just
Like,
another structural and bad thing that we should be
exactly,
like,
but that's the
incrementally
system
fighting
that you're
against.
supporting with EA. That's the system that the EA is underwriting. They're underwriting this billionaire class that is made rich and at the very top of
I
this
don't know about
hierarchy.
Well, I don't think EA is supporting that. Like, there's probably EA organizations. Well, in fact, there are EA organizations that are focused on policy and are going to be like arguing against subsidies and like lobbying against subsidies and stuff like that. So that's part of what animal EA organizations will be focused on, is overturning those policies. So that, you know, like it would all be. I feel like everything can be subsumed into the EA philosophy, where like if there is some problem with some particular theory of change, like welfare doesn't work because even if it puts up costs, there's just subsidies and propaganda or whatever, like that's just a new problem for EA to consider. It's not that EA doesn't work.
Well, why put so many stones on the pond just to cross it? We don't need to do that. We don't have to stepstone all the way like that. Like I see these.
What's the alternative though?
It's quite easy. I see cage-free egg campaigns against Crumble Cookie over here. It's like, well, just go egg-free campaign. If we have a limited amount of money, a limited amount of bodies to actually protest, we have a limited amount of time. Well, make them egg-free. Why are we even talking about cage-free? Why take that step at all? Because you're hoping that it's a lower bar to pass, but it isn't. You've spent all this time and money to try to get Swanson's animal products to go cage free, and they say, okay, we're going to do it in 5 years. Just shut up, and then they don't do it, and because it's not. They just don't want
many of them do it. The percentage of cage-free eggs has gone up massively, and again, like it's got to the point now where in the UK we're going to make this illegal, because 70% plus of our eggs are already coming from cage-free systems. There's not really that much of an industry to lobby against it. In fact, the industry is largely in favor of it, because they're like, we're already doing it. There's some people who are not doing it and they're undercutting us, so we're going to get on board with this. So they can be effective at achieving those ends.
If those are the ends, just to have cage free, I find it a little, lackluster. I'm not going to get jazzed.
There ends towards further ends as well. I would say that's clumsily phrased.
That's just kicking the can down the road. This is just like, I mean, sounds like we got
to get the can to the end of the road there.
It just sounds like Adolf Hitler saying, like, we got to get rid of those people, and we're going to have a golden age and 1,000-year Reich one of these days. Just trust me, we're getting there one of these days. Well, I'm tired of being told one of these days. They've been saying that forever. One of these days we're going to have a golden age. Donald Trump's doing the same. They always tell the same lie. One of these days we're going to have a golden age if we just do these little things and we get rid of those people. It just sounds like the same thing. We've been doing this for 100 years. We've been trying to work on animal welfare for 100 years, and yet nothing has happened. We're killing more animals.
I disagree. Certainly overall animal slaughter has gone up. That's largely because the developing world is consuming more animals than ever. And there are EA organizations working to fix that as well, right? One of the ACE charities focuses exclusively on China. There's a couple focusing in Latin America as well.
When does it start? When do they start making? I love. They should be called eventual altruism. Eventual altruism, because it's not effective. Because nothing has been effective.
Well, no, I disagree. Look, like with the cage-free thing, we can look at graph. We always look at this graph of the proportion of cage-free eggs going like this. By the way, the proportion of vegans is also increasing very, very gradually. I agree with you that should be much faster.
Why are you claiming that? Because is that a good thing that more cage-free birds? That's a good thing. That's the claim. But there's lots of controversy about whether or not they're actually more distressed. They're actually suffering more because pecking orders. There's no flyaway room. They don't have their own little space. They injure themselves more when they're in these cage-free facilities. Like, I've been to those cage-free facilities. I've been there. I've been to these concentration camps, and we're like, well, it's better than being in. I've been to the caged ones too. It's just a little cage versus a big cage, and there's lots of. If you go to those egg producers, they're claiming that the cage is better for the chicken. So, like, to say that, to chalk that up as a win for effective
Largely the reason that
altruism.
they're claiming that is because it's cheaper, by the way, and they want to do it as cheaply as possible. We want them to do it as expensively as possible.
Well, that's ascribing motive, but at the end of the day, they don't care. The largest egg producing nation in the world does not give a shit, because at the end of the
they want to do
day,
it cheaply, right? The producers want to have lower costs.
they're subsidized, and they pass any cost to them off to the consumer. And if there's if they have
I don't think subsidies just undoes everything, like all other considerations. You're going to be subsidized to some extent. You have to lobby for more subsidies. Like making animal products more expensive is indeed a good thing. It's not just like 100% diluted by the fact that they're subsidized.
You say it's a good thing, and I think that's debatable, but is that the goal? Like, is the goal to make
an incremental
animals
goal? Yeah.
So the goal is to make it so only rich people can eat animals. So that only people
that would be
in
a
certain
better
countries.
situation than like everyone can eat them because they're really cheap to produce because you can do whatever the flip you want to animals.
But you haven't changed that at all. You could still do the same thing. You could still do whatever the blip you want to animals because the rich are doing it, and we'll all aspire to be like them. And so we'll just kill smaller animals, just like chickens.
If the reason that only rich people can afford animal products is because animal welfare standards are so high and it's so expensive to produce animals, then there are going to be far fewer animals farmed as well as a result of that.
Meanwhile, they're busy trying to build a better cow, slaughter them more efficiently, using less labor. There's always ways in a business to shore up those costs.
Well,
There's
again,
always a way.
They'll be doing that regardless, though, right? Like whether or not there are animal people campaigning for cage-free, they're going to be trying to make. Yeah, but then, so
stop using them altogether. Like, why are we?
Well, I agree with you, but how do you do that? Like, the only way to do that is have the alternatives getting cheaper and better, have the animal products getting more expensive because there's now increasingly restrictive legislation and commitments and so on.
You're saying that's the only way. Doesn't make it so. That isn't the only way. There's a myriad ways to fight this scourge.
But how else do you do it?
Well, I mean, we could talk about all the different ways of activism, but at first I wanted to know which organizations you thought were actually effective, because I haven't heard of any that are effective in actually affecting change. But there's lots of ways to do this. I mean, the ALF was breaking out animals. DXE's rescuing animals. They're getting in I mean, there's all sorts of people that are doing pretty crazy stuff.
I mean. I do think that stuff is admirable, but it's really not scalable. Like, if you have to have a person arrested and spend time in prison for every like 2 animals that you save from a farm, it's not.
Oh yeah, I don't think they should be standing around like chumps waiting to get arrested. But I think they should be wearing masks and burning down department stores like the ALF used to do. You know, like that actually. You don't need much. You don't need to do much. Burn down a couple of department stores for selling fur, and all of a sudden fur becomes less popular. You know, burn down a couple of buildings. Things change very rapidly. You want to make them spend a lot of money. Make them buy more security guards. Make them buy more. You know, there's all sorts of ways to do this, but by putting all this time and effort into lawyers to try to say, like, we're not only going to make sure that you give them bigger cages, but we're somehow going to just hope and pray that we're going to have the wherewithal and the political will that doesn't exist today to enforce those laws, because we have laws on the books right now. We have welfare laws right now that aren't being enforced. Mm-hmm. And the effective altruist is like, what we need is more laws. We need more regulation on these industries. Well, we have regulations on those industries. They don't make any difference.
Yeah, a couple of country differences. First of all, I'm unable to advocate for some of the things that you're talking about in my country. God love the First Amendment, right? But I'll end up on a list if I agree with you there.
I'm not saying people should do it. I'm saying there's other ways. There's more than one way to strike at the unspeakable system of animal exploitation.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and so we do in the UK certainly have laws around how animals need to be treated on farms, and you are right that oftentimes they are not enforced, and it weirdly falls to local governments to enforce them, and they don't really have the resources to do it. Oftentimes they have one person who's like the animal welfare enforcement person, and they have no budget for actually sending them to places.
That's intentional.
Well, I think it's just not a priority, frankly, because people don't
There's
vote
no
for it
political
enough.
will, right?
Well, exactly. But that's going to be a function of people voting for it and people caring about it. That's like part of what I talk about as well, is getting people to. But it's not like laws are futile.
They're futile if they're paper tigers. If there's no one there to enforce them, their laws are futile. I mean, shit, in America, in California, we just got on the ballot to abolish slavery and of humans, and it didn't pass. So it's like we have the ballot initiatives and we still don't do it.
Isn't that already abolished?
No, I mean, we could, there's a loophole in the 13th Amendment saying if you're accused of a crime or a prisoner, then you're able to be sold as a slave, and like you're able to use as a slave. As a part of your incarceration.
This is like the forced work in prisons stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and also they can lend you out to. So a lot of slaughterhouses right now are actually they employ convicts. They're on loan from the prison, and they work all day and then they go back to prison. So they spend all day slitting throats or processing dead animals. Yeah, it's messed up. It's usually immigrants, people who are like, you've heard about the Somali population in Minnesota, 17,000 of them. The reason why there's such a huge number of them up there is because of chicken slaughterhouses that they were being employed in. Like, they poor people, and they use them as, very cheap labor or slaves, on loan from and ICE is doing the same thing right now. We're incarcerating people, again, immigrants, undocumented workers, whatever you want to call them. And we're loaning them out for $1 a day to agricultural concerns. So, like, California had it on the ballot to get rid of it, and it didn't pass. And not to go too much on that tangent, but if we can't get that passed, how the hell? We haven't even made the argument about why animals shouldn't be slaughtered, why they shouldn't be bought and sold, why their liberty matters, why liberty matters at all. We've never even had a conversation about it. And
well, it depends what level we talk. I mean, presumably you and I have good conversations about that, but like at the
university, yeah, sure. In university and philosophy classes and stuff, we talk. We read John Stuart Mills or John Locke and stuff. Sure, we're talking about it, but the average, the punter in the street, the groundlings, they're not talking about. We haven't even made the overture, but we're saying what we need is more regulation.
Well, look, I think regulation is one part of the solution. I think that all of these things work in concert. You need to make animal products less and less appealing. And one way of doing that is by making them more expensive through regulation. That is going to make animal products more expensive. Everything else,
Chris, but that's all dreaming. Like what your claim was that yes, it is, because they haven't. They've gotten more expensive and they haven't changed. We're killing more animals, and we could say, well, that's because China's making more money and they're killing more pigs or whatever, or that's because more poor people have access to chicken carcasses.
Well,
but
overall, yeah. I mean, look,
it's not working is the point. Your claim was that
in the US, beef prices are an all-time high, and the beef herds are going down. Like, there's less cows being slaughtered for beef now because it's too expensive.
And there's more flesh on dairy cows that they're selling. Hamburgers are still popular. It's not like people aren't. You're right. Whole pieces of steak or whatever in the supermarkets are crazy expensive right now. But that was always going the way of the dodo. They've always been positioning us more and more to eating dead dairy cows or dead dairy calves because it's cheaper for them, because they need to keep that industry going, and it's highly subsidized.
I think that's like always been the case. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a particularly new phenomenon, but in any case,
it's getting more
beef getting more expensive is a good thing if you're a cow.
So we think, unless you're one of the cows that's alive right now. Not if you're a cow. If you're a cow that never existed, so maybe fewer cows.
If you're an expected future cow, yeah.
Yeah, if you were you have a
1% less chance of coming into existence, something like that. Yeah,
you were if you were before your birth, and maybe you're lucky that you're not going to be on that side of the social construct.
To be fair, those are always the animals that we're talking about with vegan activism. Like, if we could snap our fingers and get the vegan world tomorrow, we'd like the current. I feel like animals that exist right now are kind of a write-off.
But what you're saying is that what I should do as prices are going up and all this is happening and I'm getting skinned on all sides and they're taking my money, I should take my money and give it to the right people. First of all, I need to find out who those right people are.
Yeah,
And
we'll get on
I
to
don't
that,
know
yeah.
who those people are. We have no evidence that there's any effective altruists or effective organizations. We have no evidence that any of these things are working. But you want me to, while I'm getting skinned, take my hard-earned money that I trade my time for to this tyrannical form of just wage slaving my way through.
We're all selling our time, like,
and I need to give it to some other guy to make it better for animals. You don't think that proposition's a little ridiculous when there's no evidence that works?
Well, I disagree that there's no evidence it works. I think we're all we're all playing that game to some extent. We're all selling our time, and like to exist, and I think that's fine. Like that's kind of how it has to be. We can I don't want to get into a whole tangent about that, but we're all selling our time to exist, and like clearly there are some causes where you could get, even if you disagree that the currently recommended ones are effective. We get on to talking about that. Clearly, there would be some places where you could put your money that would reduce the number of animals going into the farming system, right?
You tell me. I don't see it. We have more animals than we've been doing this for 100 years.
Also, the fact that there's more animals now is true largely. Now, again, I think it's largely driven by developing countries. Like meat consumption in the UK is going down.
I mean, it's always convenient to blame the global South or the the politically vulnerable.
I mean, it's just a statement of fact that meat consumption is going down.
Especially with your accent, I enjoy it particularly.
Yeah, all right.
But it's all those poor people fault in the Mr. Gandhi.
All right, walked into that one.
Just a joke.
No,
but
it
is convenient to always be. It's like with people with climate change. They blame the third world. They blame the developing country. Why should we? Like we're doing all these things with wind turbines.
Yeah, look, it's not about blaming. It's not my fault and it's not your fault. Whatever happens here, right? We're both vegans, so we're not contributing to this in any case. But it's just a conscientious
observer.
Exactly right. It's just a statement of fact that meat consumption in the UK is going down. Meat consumption in China is going up. Like that. I'm not saying therefore Chinese people are bad or something like that. Like it's just it's just the reality.
No, but what's funny about it might be the reality, but the same culprits are at work. You think like the way that's happening, if we develop their taste for pork, we're the ones that did this. It's just like it's just like Keir Starmer getting on TV and saying the Iranians they're stuck in the Stone Ages and whose fault is that, right? Like the Anglo, what they used to call it, the Anglo-Iranian oil companies and British Petroleum and American interests. We're the ones that drew those borders in the Gulf states. We caused that problem, and then we blame them for when we get to that point.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know too much about that. It depends on the problem, right? Like, no doubt, both of our countries have our fair share of blame for like problems around the world. I'm not going to have any argument with that.
But why
I don't think we caused pork
not just
consumption in China.
We did. We absolutely did, because we want to sell them soy. We want to sell them wheat. We want to sell them our grain. And so we developed this. And I know England, UK doesn't. UK is more about moving the money around. But at the end of the day, the money from those industries come back to the United States, come back to London and New York. And that's the game that we've been playing for a very long time, that we push our taste onto other countries. We sell them the ways to do it, and we make a shitload of money, and we stay in power. I mean, this is how we
I mean, I don't know about that. Look, my only point saying that, and what I didn't get to saying is that even if overall meat consumption is going up, which it is, it could go up by more or go up by less, like depending on what else we're doing. So if we're successfully passing laws, doing successful vegan activism, like moving things in the right direction, we can mean that there's meat consumption is going up less than it would be if we weren't doing those things, right?
I mean, again, there's no evidence of that, right? Meat consumption is going up, and we can wave it away and say, well, that's the third world that's doing this, or whatever we want to call it, the global South or developing nations. It's all their fault that this is happening, and we got nothing to do with that. We're passing laws here. We're the good guys. It's just like it's like
I'm not thinking about in those terms. I'm just like describing where this is. I'm not like the UK is good because meat consumption is going down.
No, but you're using it as an excuse that I think is unfair. I'm not saying that you're demonizing them, although there might be a little.
I'm not at all. Look, even if meat consumption was going, let's say that meat consumption was going up in the UK. It's not, but let's say that it was. It would still be the case that this could be going up by even more, or it could be going up by less, depending on what we do. Like, you might, like, let's say that I'm putting on weight. Let's say that I'm getting fatter, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting fatter, like, whatever I'm doing with respect to my diet is not eating, and therefore, fuck it, I may as well just eat as many cheeseburgers as I want. Like, no, you'll get even fatter if you do that. So the rate of, you're trying to affect the rate of change, and the fact that you're going, like, things are going in the wrong direction currently is not evidence that, like, whatever I'm doing with respect to my diet is not having some positive impact on that.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like when America outlawed the importation of slaves, and there became an illegal slave trade. They made the slave trade illegal so that no more slaves would be imported from other countries. It didn't abolish slavery. It didn't help one slave. It didn't stop any slaves from being born. It didn't stop anyone from whipping their slaves. It didn't do anything. It just slowed down the bleeding, I guess. It just stopped.
But that's better than faster bleeding, isn't it?
I guess, but I don't think that that's a rallying cry. I mean, I think somebody has to be holding the flag and saying, no, we've got to have a direction we're going. If that's the goal, just to slow down the bleeding, that's not very...
Well, I will grant you that, like, the kind of stuff that I talk about is not particularly exciting. It's not particularly fun. It's not like paradigm shifting or convention busting or anything. I'm like, donate to these efficient organizations and post on social media and email company executives. Like, it's not that fun or exciting or like out there or wacky or whatever, right?
But you're trying to inspire them, but you want to separate them from their money, and then you're promising them something that had the facts don't bear out. The evidence, there's zero evidence that effective altruism working. The welfarism is working. It's gotten worse.
Yeah, I disagree.
And okay, we could go play who's on first again and again. Oh, it's a third world or whatever. But we've been doing this for 100 years almost, and it's gotten worse. It's not gotten better. And we're just going to give it a new name and call it effective altruist. We're going to have more elaborate spreadsheets, and we're going to talk about suffering and Peter Singer and the rest. And it's like, great, but you're still trying to inspire an impoverished class of people to give you money, give somebody money. Again, I don't know which organizations you're talking about.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, because you said that a few times. So there are organizations that are consistently, by different raters and at different points in time, always considered amongst the most effective. Well, pardon me. One of those is the Humane League. What I recommend giving to is what are like the meta charities. So Animal Charity Evaluators, for example, does what it says on the tin. They are doing the evaluation of the animal charities, and they'll have a fund that is given to those charities that are considered to be the most effective. The reason that I recommend giving to that is because it updates. It's like giving to the philosophy of put the funds wherever they're most efficiently reducing animal suffering. And so if a particular, like if there's some new evidence that, hey, we thought this thing was effective, but it turns out that that other thing is more effective, your donations will automatically be updated towards this other thing. Whereas if you're giving to a particular organization or a particular intervention, you're kind of tied to that. It becomes like insensitive to the change. But if you give to animal charity evaluators or to EA animal welfare funds, that is on ongoing assessment of what are the most effective things to reduce animal suffering. And therefore, it's always going to be reflecting of the best evidence that we have on that.
It's like the S&P 500. I can just give money to it, and over time, it'll just make my small investment to assuage my own misgivings about how we treat animals, and I can go and feel like a good person.
Investing in the S&P is pretty good advice, isn't it?
Well, it is, but except this isn't that, right? I'm making the comparison because this isn't the S&P 500. It's just a version of that because we like the S&P 500. We must be able to do that for animal welfare. And here I'm saying, no, you can't outsource this type of thing. You can't outsource all of this. Then why isn't it working? We've been outsourcing it for 100 years.
I disagree that it's not working. Well, look, animal charity evaluators only started in 2016, I believe. And like the whole phenomenon of let's try to do effective altruism and like focus on what's the most effective ways of achieving the ends that we want in terms of altruistic ends is branding, a relatively recent phenomenon. No, it's not.
That's just a new branding. That's not a phenomenon. We've been talking about animal welfarism for a very long time. Even the Vegetarian Society was talking about animal welfare.
I don't think that there's been a systematic method of saying, okay, let's evaluate which interventions work and which don't. Like, this is a pretty recent thing in the last decade or so to have had
got more
even the resource.
sophisticated.
Yeah, well, that's good.
And even in
to have the
2005,
resources
because that's the thing, man. I went vegan in 2005 and we were already talking about this. Hey, if you give this many, if it's just a numbers game, if I give this many flyers out or leaflets, this many people will get them, and this percentage of this will actually hear it, and this percentage will. I mean, it's just the same argument that we've always been having. It's just more sophisticated spreadsheets and more money changing hands, which probably is the real motive here behind this. I mean,
Well, I
it's
disagree
just
with that. Look, largely people working in charities are taking a much lower salary than they could if they work in the private sector. I don't think people are like cynically driven by money on these things, really at all.
no. I don't think that. Okay, like I mean, there are people who are mission driven. I worked for multiple animal organizations now.
Yeah,
and there
I
are
would
people
say
that are
that's all of them. I think the number of people working in animal charities who are like, hey, I'm going to do this because it's like this is going to be the highest earning career opportunity. I think that number is 0%.
No, but it becomes something like 0%. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people will. It's a collection of individuals at the end of the day. Everyone's got their own motivation. It's usually not to make a bunch of money, although there are a bunch of people making plenty of money at this. But
I
still,
disagree with that. So, anyone working in a charity is leaving money on the table compared to what they could be doing with their career otherwise.
it's not true at all. I mean, we have giant organizations like Red Cross and St. Jude's, and there are plenty of organizations that are charity organizations that people at the top are making shitloads of money. You have to be able to attract them. You can't run these organizations.
Yeah, but if they were working in the private sector, they'd be making fuckloads of money, and everyone knows that's more than shitloads.
Charity organizations, yeah, fuckloads and shitloads are two different worlds, I guess. No, it's not the case that they like. What happens is you end up having a different mindset when it's nonprofit, but that's not the same thing as saying we're not here to make money or we're not here to make sure that we get our biggest piece of the pie, because we know that the pool of money is finite, and so each organization is pitted against one another in order to get their biggest piece of the pie, and they're in competition. It just becomes another capitalistic endeavor where we're all at each other's throats, and Mercy for Animals talks shit on PETA and PETA talks shit on DXE.
Well, look, I agree that the charities are in competition with each other by the way, we're coming up on the hour. I don't know if you have somewhere to be or like have a hard out or anything like that, but just want to put that on the radar. No, I agree that charities are in competition. You are right about some things there. Like people think, oh, non-profit, that means they're not talking consumer finance. Like, no, that's not true. They still have to pay salaries. They still have bills to pay. Like they are going to be concerned with getting finance.
They got to put gas in the tank. They
all that stuff. And then also that they are in competition for the same sources of funding, basically. And again, I think that's basically a good thing. But only in so far as there is some way of measuring how effective they are. Because let's say that there's some X amount of money everyone altogether is going to be willing to give to animal charities, and these different animal charities are in competition for that finite amount of money. Now, until you have a system like effective altruism in place, where you have some systematic way of saying, okay, this is what we think is the best use of money to help animals per dollar. This is what we think is like the most effective organizations doing those interventions well. In the absence of some sort of system like that, it basically comes down to who has the better charity marketing departments. And that's not what you want at all, because you could easily have a non-profit where they're spinning their wheels for years or decades and not really getting anything done. But because they have people who are very compelling at selling the message to donors, they can keep the lights on, they can grow, they can employ more people. And it's interesting because this is different from a profit-making business. If you run a profit-making business and your business is not doing the thing that the business does very well, it's going to become apparent quite quickly because you run out of money. The thing that you're doing is directly connected to the money that you have coming in. And so if you're not doing it well, you're going to run out of money coming in. In a charity, that's not really the case. The thing that you're trying to achieve is really completely separate from the money coming in, unless you have something like effective altruism. So again, you could have a very compelling marketing department and have loads of money coming in, but actually be helping zero animals, or actually be doing harm. Like there could be organizations that are actually doing more harm than good, but yet they have a very compelling marketing team, and so they're able to keep the lights on. But if you have something like effective altruism, which is trying to say, okay, we're going to reward financially the organizations that are doing the best interventions and doing them well, then it's completely game changing, because now you move into a paradigm where everyone's incentivized to do the most effective interventions and to be most efficient in doing them. It's
still just an arbitrary. It's just a metric that you invented. It's just an arbitrary metric. You're going to try to measure suffering and then affect that suffering.
I disagree that it's arbitrary. Look, I hear what you're saying. It's a little bit difficult.
How do you measure the suffering of a chicken? How do you measure the suffering of a man? You can't.
Well, yeah, of course you can. So in health economics, you have things. You ever heard of QALYs? It's like a bit of yeah. So it's like quality adjusted life. So for people in the audience who might not know, it's basically in humans based on surveys where the people are like, how much would you not like to have any given condition? And the example I always give is like, how much would you not like to have cancer? How much would you not like to have a broken leg? Oh, look at that. People would much prefer to not have cancer than they would to not have a broken leg. Ideally, you don't want either of those things, of course. But like, it's worse to have cancer than it is to have a broken leg. And I think everyone can look at that and say, yeah, that's correct. Like, that makes sense. We agree with that. You could have a similar thing in the case of animals. Now, obviously, you can't survey animals and ask them, but you can observe, markers of distress. Like, you can make some reasonable inferences about this probably hurts more than that.
Yeah, but as long as you're using them as means of production, then it doesn't matter how they feel. This is, again, we did this with human slaves, where we tried to reduce their suffering, and as long as they are owned, then they are property. As long as they are property, it doesn't matter how we treat them.
I disagree with that
because you're never addressing the elephant in the room, or just basic principles of virtue. And you're trying to say, okay, we're going to be more like these for-profit companies, but the way you describe them, we're kind of naive. Like, they're also only as good as their marketing departments. They aren't providing some service, and if people just stop using, that's not how that works.
Well, they're part of profit-making companies are, of course they are.
They're not. That's not how it works anymore. They're entirely integrated into our system. The same board members work on the board member of McDonald's is the board member of Cargill is the same. It's the same guy, literally the same human being.
Sure, but if McDonald's burgers consistently taste like shit, there isn't going to be McDonald's around for very long. Like, people, like, it's all consumer driven for businesses.
Then they will lower the prices and put out their competition. We've already seen them at work, and what they do is they integrate with real estate. McDonald's doesn't have a great product; they have an available and quick product, and they own the real estate. And that's
mostly providing value, though, isn't it? Like, that's providing value.
No, it's killing
available and quick food.
It's murdering us, and the way that works is that they are integrated with the soy farmers of America, integrated with the chicken farmers of America. They are a spaghetti monster who's got their tentacles in every asshole in America, and there's nothing. There's not like you could just stop going to McDonald's and kill McDonald's.
As an individual, no, but if everybody decided to stop going to McDonald's, obviously that would kill McDonald's.
Yeah, but that's putting things onto the consumer, the consumer, as if we're going to have.
Consumers do drive this stuff. Consumers do. I hate the stuff about 50% of greenhouse gas emissions are just by these 10 companies or whatever. It's like, that's because people are buying their shit. That's because people keep filling up their cars with petrol. Like, it's not. You don't
have a choice.
Well, of course you do. You don't have some oil executive who's just like, I'm going to just pollute the environment for a laugh. Like, they're doing it because there's a massive demand for it. If they weren't doing it, somebody else would be doing it. Like, it does come down to us as individuals and as consumers and as voters, and what kind of world we want to create with our money and with our votes. But mainly with our money, because we don't vote that frequently, and when we do, we're normally not in swing seats and stuff.
The will of the people is constantly undermined by conspiracy. We had the longest light rail in the world in Los Angeles, and it's gone now because of conspiracy. Basically, oil companies, tire companies, and motor companies got together, bought it all, and ripped it out. Like, that wasn't because the people wanted to do that. It was a popular system. It was being used. The consumer didn't matter. The consumer doesn't matter at all. As soon as the consumer wakes up to these injustices, they're brainwashed the other way. They're inundated by 10,000 ads a day, and we're saying, well, if we just give $15 to the right organization, then we're going to have put some dent in that. No, because we haven't even addressed the basic human values of this. We can't buy our way out of this. We can't outsource this to politicians. We can't buy our way out of it. We can't not buy our way out of it. We can't boycott our way out of it. We have to inspire each other to actually get together and do some hard things. And it's not going to be just, I'm not preaching violence or anything like that, but it's not going to be, let's outsource this to the superheroes. Let's outsource this to lawyers and politicians. I mean, how great is it to think that in America and in England, we can just take our money and pay someone else to do things? Like we're gonna get the same problems. We're doing that right now with animal torture. I don't want to torture an animal, but I'll make enough money where I'll pay somebody else to do it. Well, that's the same thing. I don't want to actually confront my values and the effects of what I'm doing. I want to pay someone else to do that.
Well, there's all sorts of things that we pay someone else to do, and that can be a good way to get things done. And I think that is like the philosophy of paying professionals who work at charities to try and achieve to the ends that the charities are trying to achieve.
And why isn't it getting done? I mean,
it is getting done. Well,
St. Jude's has killed. St. Jude's has cured something like 14 forms of childhood cancer, and yet we've done nothing. We are consuming more animals. It's getting worse. Welfare conditions are getting worse.
Okay, so do you think that charities in other sectors can get things done?
Maybe. I think that maybe, because I think that we have a political will to help. We have a political will to help childhood cancer, right? We don't like cancer kids, and so we're actually going to try to do something about that because the people have all decided that's something we want to do.
The thing is, I mean, look, I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying in the sense that let's say like the average. What people want basically is reflected in political systems and also in commercial, well, you didn't say this, but is also reflected in commercial systems. The reason that McDonald's is everywhere and profitable is because people do want cheap and fatty food. Like that is what is driving that. And so I think it is
to want it, and the alternatives have been limited, right? It's a double whammy. They've been told to want it. They've been told this is normal. They've been raised at a very young age. When I was a little kid, I was taken to McDonald's. There's all sorts of nostalgia, all sorts of shit going on. And meanwhile, I agree
with that. But I
can't go next door to get a soy burger, right? There's no other option. If I go to
we have McPlants in the UK, so
we don't. We don't. I'm glad that your little island's got so many awesome options. We ain't. We don't have that shit.
You'll get there. You'll catch yourself.
By my house, I could go to. I got lots of choices. I got Habit Burger, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Del Taco, and guess what? It's the same dead animals in all of them, and none of them have a vegan option. But there's a line of fast food.
Obviously, if everyone was demanding vegan options, they would, right? And they did for some time, and that was, has been a brief candle for some of them. Those vegan options have largely stuck around in the UK. But obviously, again, that's consumer driven. Like if there's enough people, if 10, 20, 50% of people are like, we're going to be vegan now, we only want vegan burgers. But hell yeah, McDonald's is going to be selling a vegan burger. It's not
just consumer driven. There's less opposition. You don't have a machine killing soy burgers. You don't have a machine.
Of course, we have a livestock lobby as well.
Yeah, but you don't have a lot. It's not the same. You guys don't
funny
have the
accents and stuff, but that's
you don't have the USDA, who's you guys don't have the USDA who's telling people what the nutritional pyramid looks like. Our agricultural department tells us what
I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah, the whole system's cooked, and we're like, well, it's consumers. It's their choice. It's not.
Well, look, there is a lot of other stuff going on, but as an individual, as a man on the street or woman on the street, or they, the main way that you interact with the system is by what you spend your money on. I think that voting is massively overrated as a way that people interact with the system at large. I think where you put your money is incredibly
it's definitely
important.
Not effective, right? But that's also it's voting with your dollar or voting at the ballot are equally ineffective. I can vote with my dollar, but it doesn't matter. The only way to be vegan in most places in America is to cook for yourself. I've got one vegan restaurant near me, and it's always struck. You know what they do? They send me a text saying it's really slow. Could you come in and give us money, please? That's their marketing department. McDonald's doesn't have that problem, right? They're on ads everywhere I go. I'm part of a book club. We went to a bar afterwards. They all start eating, and guess what they're eating? I'm looking at the menu. Not one vegan item. Not one. You can't even get French fries there that are vegan.
I mean, that sucks. That is a function of lack of consumer demand, though. If there's a consumer demand for it, people yes, absolutely, yeah. If there's consumer demand for it, places will sell it.
I worked in food
100%.
and beverage. For 28 years, I worked in food and beverage, and it's not like you just wake up and go, "I think people need this. People are demanding this." That's never how it works. People want burgers, quesadillas, and Caesar salads, and so that's why they're on every menu. But meanwhile, it's just dead animals and sauce, chicken and sauce, cows and sauce.
Yeah, but if people wanted soy burgers, then they'd be on every menu. Like, it's just obvious that consumer demand drives like what is supplied.
What synthesizes that? What generates that?
Well, effective activism.
Oh,
effective
really?
activism.
Effective
Absolutely.
activism makes people wake up and say, "I demand a soy burger."
Yeah, absolutely. You're saying
And
that.
so you get one person. So you get one person in front of McDonald's saying, "I demand a McPlant."
Obviously not one person, but if you have 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, then like, yeah, eventually,
we have
McDonald's...
that, and it's not working. Like McDonald's doesn't do that, and you know why? It's because those people are silenced. They're called terrorists. They're called.
Yeah, that's bad, and that's bad. Like
that's. They're called crazy in every media. Every show calls vegans crazy. The USDA and other organizations are saying that you're stupid if you eat this. It's unhealthy. Like all the odds are stacked against you because the system is by design not responsive to consumer demand or your dollar or even the money, like even the ballot.
I don't know what to tell you. Of course, the system is like responsive to consumer demand.
That is your faith in capitalism, but that's not how you get billionaires. You don't get billionaires because capitalism works for everyone. You don't get Bangladeshi children digging through old cell phones for heavy metals because capitalism works. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a whole thing about capitalism. Under any system, what is demanded will be supplied, right? Let's say like we're voting on the organized economy. Like if people vote for more soy burgers, then there'll be more soy burgers, and if in capitalism people want to buy more soy burgers, then there'll be more soy burgers. Like
in South Carolina, there were more black people than white people, so the demand for freedom was higher than the demand for slavery, and yet somehow slavery continued there. Like this idea that
that's not really a markets thing, is it?
It isn't, but it's never a markets thing. This myth of supply and demand is just a bastardization of some econ class we all took, that we all have to become parrots where we're like, raw supply and demand, and it's a dream. It's a myth that they're forcing on us. It doesn't work that way. You think that Elon Musk has 850 you think Elon Musk has $850 billion because he just brought good product to market? Is that what you're...
No, I think there's... Look, again, I'm not really focused on like the very rich people and how that happens, or whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing.
That system's the underpinning of your claim that like if we all just give money to the effective altruist, somehow we'll generate consumer confidence in soy burgers, and that's gonna create more options and more choices for us all. But capitalism doesn't work that way. Adam Smith, the invisible hand of Adam Smith's capitalist dream, is bullshit. It's been bastardized. We're more like in this weird zero-sum game where human beings are just pawns.
So what do you think would happen if there was 1 million people demanding vegan burgers? Do you think, like, what do you think will be the result? Like, there's a big conspiracy and all Mr. McDonald's will just say no because it's a conspiracy. Like, obviously, there will just be some new business popping up.
We'll never get to 1 million people because every time someone raises their hand and says, I think someone walks by an AV cube and they're like, and they've got evidence of this. They go, oh, shit, I don't want to support that. And so maybe that day they don't eat a burger in their very next meal. Cool. They're not out there demanding for soy burgers. They just chose a salad.
Something. Well, then there's more salads being sold. Like, what do you mean?
More salads are being sold. So if we do this 1 million times, we're going to get somewhere, and we'll get 1 million people buying salads.
Yes.
Okay. So and no one's ever going to oppose this, and it just exists in a vacuum, and there's no opposition to this movement.
The reason that they would oppose it is because they recognize that supply and demand works. Like, obviously, what we're talking about is trying to reduce demand for animal products, right? Do you disagree with that?
Reduce the demand for animal products.
Like that, obviously, that's the thing that we want, right?
I don't know.
That's one of the things that we want.
Sure, I guess. Like, I want people to wake up and realize that they're not living...
Works.
It's not the way supply and demand works. I mean, if it worked, that would be how it worked, but that's not how it works. We have a propaganda machine.
What would be the point of reducing demand for animal products if supply and demand doesn't work?
What would be the point of reducing demand for animal products?
Well, I don't know, but you just said that's one of the things that we want.
I guess because I want to save animals, but at the end of the day,
yes,
like I mean, but that's, yeah, I guess, reducing to say, like, I don't want to be a monster and say like, oh, of course I don't want to reduce but that's not what my end goal is.
I'm not saying that there aren't other factors at play. Like, obviously there is marketing, and obviously there's lobbying, and obviously there's propaganda. Like, I totally
billions of dollars at stake.
100%, yeah, 100%. I totally get that. The outcomes that we are talking about are to do with supply and demand, though. Like, we are trying to reduce demand for animal products. The lobbying, the brainwashing, the propaganda, which is expensive, by the way, that someone's got to pay for those Super Bowl ads in the New York Times full page saying that plant-based meat's ultra-processed and all this other stuff. Like, that... So, like, they're paying for that because they recognize they're trying to affect supply and demand. Like, we are trying to reduce demand for animal products because
we're trying to reduce the demand,
reduce supply of animal products, and that's going to mean that fewer animals are on factory farms.
By browbeating consumers, I guess, and trying to get them to choose,
but by browbeating, by guilt tripping,
But wouldn't it be?
Yes.
Shouldn't we be undermining people's confidence in these institutions and systems? And it seems like what you want to do is produce more confidence, like instill more confidence in these systems. And these systems.
What do you mean by these systems? Work. I mean, I want to instill confidence in the systems that reduce animal farm. I don't want to increase confidence in the animal farming system.
It's the same system. Like, you're asking people to go and give money as if we have stand a snowball's chance in hell against these multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations that are bribing our president. And like, JBS was the largest contributor to the inauguration fund of Donald J. Trump, $5 million. 6 months later, they're traded on the NYSE, even though it was illegal for them to be traded on the NYSE. Because of their bribery in Brazil. JBS is the largest animal production company in America, and they're owned by a Brazilian company, bribing people down there like Bolsonaro and bribing our president. And we're like, well, if we just give enough money to the right guys, then
because then what if Mercy for Animals was what if Mercy for Animals was the biggest contributor to the inauguration fund or whatever? But I always thought that was a bit of a weird thing that existed, by the way. But that's a different. But what if animal charities were the biggest contributors to these political campaigns? Then they'd be beholden to our interests.
Yeah, that's all we have to do, right? We just have to somehow work within the system. You're like, you're like Bernie Sanders trying to use capitalism to change the world. You can't just get there by saying like the system works and we just need to use the system better. The system's fixed. The system does not work for the vast majority of people on planet Earth. It does not work for the animals. The system is not working. And the effective altruist argument is if we just use it more effectively, then we can affect change.
What do you think would be the effect of, what do you think, like, let's say that I successfully persuaded 100 million people to sign up and give, $10 a month, and then that ends up being whatever it would be, 12 billion or whatever, like some massive, let's say that we've successfully persuaded a lot of people to give money to charities such that now we are 100 or 1,000xing the amount of resources in animal charities. Don't you agree that we would be able to use those resources to affect consumer demand, increase regulations on animal farms, reduce the number of animals being farmed, and reduce their suffering?
If you had the superhero talent to convince 100 million people of anything, let's say you just instead of trying to get $5 out of each of them, if you had 100 million people that you just said, hey, maybe you should think critically, question authority, challenge this system, stop being part of it, abandon this hope that capitalism's going to save you and somehow you're going to join the billionaires club. If you started engaging with them,
it's not about they're going to join the billionaires club. I'm just like, we're going to help animals here. We're going to save animals.
I just add that on as another one of these myths that people believe in when it comes to this system, that they think that if I just buy the right thing and do the right thing and someone's going to love me and I'm going to have like this, it's a system built on manipulation. And if you have that power to manipulate people, somehow you can just do it with 100 million people and somehow do it despite all of the hundreds of billions of dollars being spent in contradiction to what your claims are. You're able to do 100 million people. Like, maybe just, you wouldn't have to do that big of an ask if you're that convincing. You wouldn't have to do much. You just teach them to just say, hey, maybe you should live by your own values. The values that you espouse, live by them. It might be a little harder.
Well,
you might have to cook for yourself.
Now, listen, I can't persuade 100 million people, not yet. We'll get there. We've got,
but if we got 13K subscribers. If we just get $15 from each person.
Well, here's the thing, right? This is my theory of change. Okay, we're gonna increase the number of people that we can influence, and given that we can't get to 100 million straight away, we're gonna start with very small numbers. What's the most effective, most effective, I guess, is really most effective to lowest effort way that people can engage. That's mainly what I talk about. Like, all the things I talk about doing are pretty low effort. Giving to charities, you set up your direct debit, you're done. You don't ever have to think about it. If you can afford to do that, that's it. That's the easiest and the most effective. Then also talk about posting on social media. Again, pretty much anyone can do that. And then I will also talk about taking part in organized online activism, which is basically mainly commenting on company social media things, emailing company executives, emailing company stakeholders, and stuff like this. All pretty low effort, all you can do from your computer, do from your sofa, do from your phone, whatever, right? And it is going to affect a lot of animals. And so, given that we can't get to 100 million people, not yet, let's say I get to 1 million first, if I get 1 million people doing those things, that is going to change the game. That is going to put the vegan world in sight.
You forgot prayer, because prayer works too. It works as effectively as all the things you just mentioned. Prayer works, guys. It'll save animals if you just pray extra hard.
No,
if I had the ability, if I wanted it, I see no evidence that any of the things that you're describing help either. Again, the numbers are getting worse. Perhaps we need a shift.
Look, the numbers getting worse is not evidence that things I'm talking about do not work. First of all, we haven't been doing these things
but there is
for
no
very long
evidence.
or a very large scale.
But there is no evidence that it's working.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
And why is the problem getting worse? It's not getting better.
But that's not. Yes, because it would be getting even worse. First of all, it's because hardly anyone is doing the things I'm talking about. If 1 million people were doing the things that I'm talking about, I don't know that it would
be a million vegans posting online. Probably there's probably 1 million vegans posting online about how it sucks to kill animals, and most people, or that it's healthy. Most vegans are all about health these days.
But that's better. But that's better than if there wasn't. And again, I don't the fact that things are getting worse, and the fact that there's more animals slaughtered each year, that is not evidence that therefore no activism works.
But if you're going to put all this effort into something like convincing 1 million people of anything at all, you might as well convince them that the system that is enabling the exploitation of animals and the exploitation of themselves and the exploitation of their children and the exploitation of immigrants and all the people that they claim to care about and the exploitation of the earth itself. Maybe you just convince them that we need to stop investing in that system. Maybe convince them that we don't need to be praying to the likes of Elon Musk and hoping that we become him one day.
What does that consist of? Practically do it. Practical. I say, here's my slogan: give more, share more, and do more. And it's very practical. It's very down to, I can tell you the websites to go to. I can tell you the organizations to give to. I can give you things that you can share on social media. It's very, very actionable. It's very practical. It's very tangible. What does it mean to stop believing in this system? What do I want people to do?
Yeah, what do you want them to do?
Burning down a Macy's,
sure, burn down a Macy's if you'd like. I don't want to say to burn down a Macy's, but
you don't want to say not to do it.
It's just, hell, go ahead and burn them down if you want. But
rough day for Macy's.
We don't really have many more Macy's these days. I don't know. I think they're closing up shop. But first and foremost is to question authority, question those in charge, and not allow them to have authority and force them to justify the power.
What does it look like? What website do I go to do that?
Well, I'm trying to get you to do it yourself. Don't just go to a website. Don't try to outsource.
What is it? Writing to my MP? Going to a protest? What?
Yeah, I mean, holding your representatives in power is certainly, I think, as holding them responsible and holding them accountable is definitely holding yourself accountable, letting people know that you can't just. We're entering a time right now
Yeah,
where
but that's all. It's not tangible though. Like what I'm going to make a to-do list for this afternoon. I'm going to do Sky Morgan's like guide to activism. I could tell you, go to this website, give money here, share this on social media, and email this thing to this person. Like mine is a very, very tangible, actionable. I feel like yours is like not.
if I don't know if it's as tangible because I don't have the. If you want to give money to make yourself feel better, go ahead. I think
Well,
that
it's not
you
about
should
making
be,
yourself feel better. I
Kind
probably feel better if I spend all that money on drugs, honestly. But like,
I don't know, not for a little while, maybe for a couple minutes, but like at the end of after the end of your binge, you might have thought maybe I could have spent my money better. Constantly giving our money to others and outsourcing this is not going to get us anywhere. Actually putting boots on the ground, getting out and doing stuff, helping each other, building community, working with each other, not just staying online, building mutual defense networks, mutual aid networks where we are shit, man. Even if I had three vegans showing up at a book club with 30 people could convince people to go vegan. Like, this is something where once you build community, you can actually affect change in that community. You start doing that more and more across the country. Right now, we're looking at people, we're having a changing, the times are changing where people are starting to look, especially with like this Epstein stuff. We're seeing how working class children are bought and sold by the rich. We're seeing how we're basically no different than the serfs, and the lords and vassals are still in control. We could overthrow them. It's not that hard. There's only 900 billionaires. We've got 100 million guns in this country. Like, this isn't. This is a pretty simple math problem. And
well, kind. I mean, again, like
and I'm not. And there's lots of ways to take away their money and take away their power, but we need to take away their power. We need to constantly undermine their authority instead of following orders. We need to be higher friction. We need to have anarchistic calisthenics where we're saying no over and over again. Man, it's about a change in your entire attitude. And you're right. Maybe it's not as tangible, but it's definitely tangible when you're at the airport and you say, it's my right not to go through that machine. I want you to pat me down and take the 10 minutes it's going to take, because I'm not going to just let you violate my rights out of convenience.
I don't know how that helps anything though. Like, going through airport scanners probably fine, isn't it?
No, because fuck them. Why are we allowing them to take? Because fuck them. Because I'm not going to go so easy. I'm not going to be so harmless. This is the problem, Chris.
What's the line between that and achieving? Like, I don't see what that's achieving at all.
Imagine if everybody did that. If everyone said, no, I'm not going through that backscatter. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not going to take the picture. Push back.
I mean, like, airport scanner companies would probably suffer, but apart from that,
the airlines would suffer. Everyone would suffer, and that suffering would bring about change. See, I love you. You laugh it off because it hurts, but it's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to hurt to push back those in power. It's supposed to hurt to say, no, I'm not going to do what you tell me. I'm not just going to shut up and take it. But you're telling people they should shut up and take it and give their money to this guy who's going to somehow, through some back channels, actually get something done.
Well,
it doesn't take that.
Yeah,
it takes saying no.
I'm certainly not saying people should shut up. Like, one of the things I'm talking about is sharing more, right?
Sharing on the internet so that the algorithm controlled by the same people in power can deliver that content to the people they want. We know that doesn't work. You're like investing in a system that's corrupt.
About almost 50% of vegans have said that the thing that first inspired them to go vegan is something that they saw online.
Vegans say all sorts of shit. People say vegans say they saw fucking Earthling Ed on there, like, it convinced me immediately and I went vegan the next day. I mean, everyone's
like Earthling Ed probably does convince a lot of people, no?
Everyone's got this story about this moment, right? But really, if they're not going to be confronted by the ethics, then they're not going to stay vegan. They're not actually even thinking about exploitation, slavery, any of these things. I'm asking them to stop being complicit. If I don't see what can be more tangible than that, than saying no
Well,
saying
again,
no
we've got a sliver of agreement there. I do think that in terms of what you're sharing, I do think sharing, this is what a factory farm looks like, this is what a slaughterhouse looks like, that is, as far as I can tell, the most effective thing to put on your billboard. But again, that's a function of effective altruism, where we've done some sort of experimentation, we've done had people look at this versus an environmental or a health message, and we've observed, okay, a higher percentage of people said they're going to change their diet when they see the animal message. Like, that is obviously something that's good to do.
Dude, I was the one that drove the Hell on Wheels chicken truck across America. I went to I think 40 states.
That's excellent.
But you know how they funded it was through effective altruists who said, how many vegans will we change? Well, as you're driving around America, you're going to see this many cars are going to see you. And it's just the same metrics
good, right?
that McDonald's is using with a fraction of the budget.
McDonald's is very successful.
That's not successful. McDonald's is successful because they have the budget and the subsidies to be successful. We do not have that ammunition. You're not going to tear down.
People need to give more money to charities.
Yeah, give more money. We can spend our way out of this. Let's be George W. Bush. Let's shop our way out of 9/11.
We can give money to the organizations that are going to do them effectively. You've taken part in some of these things, and it would have been even bigger if we had more. Yeah, so let's get loads of people to fart. That's all I want.
Yeah, and then you don't actually have to take any personal accountability or personal responsibility for your actions, and you can just outsource it all. You pray for Superman to save it.
Listen, giving to the charities is taking responsibility.
No, it's not. It's a tip at a restaurant because you felt bad that they have to work and you're enjoying yourself. It's just a way to assuage your own soul sucking life. That's something.
That's fine. Oh yeah. That's fine. And look, it's a good thing if people feel good about giving money to charity, because then they're going to do it more. I'm not that concerned about how people feel about it, only as a means to whether they're going to then give more. But we have effective things that we can do. The problem of not doing more of them is a lack of budget. I don't see how the solution is not more money going towards those things that are effective.
Because it has never worked for something like a social justice campaign. It's never worked. We have pressure campaigns. We have embarrassing things. We can embarrass the people who are in charge. We can undermine their power.
And
that requires zero money.
I disagree with that. If you want to have any sort of a pressure campaign, of course, costs money.
Not like what you're talking about. Having some posters, it really doesn't. You can draw your own posters. Grassroots is a lot different than what you're talking about. Effective altruism is not about the grassroots.
Well, look, there's all sorts of things that we outsource because we understand that that's the best way to achieve it. Like, you didn't make that suit, and nor should you have done, because somebody can make a suit much better and much cheaper than you can. So it obviously makes sense for you to outsource the making of that suit. It's going to be the same for activism in a lot of cases. It just is.
And it's not active. That's not activism. That is outsourcing. What you just described is fine. I can't make a suit, so I got to pay somebody else to make it. Yeah. That I didn't learn the skills. I didn't do any of the things that need to be done in order to have
animal activism. That is
can't affect change that way. You always end up going a race to the bottom that way, because we're all going to be struggling to try to raise more money for these things that we think are more efficacious, and it's just never going to actually work. And it hasn't so far. It's gotten worse. That's what we've been doing. We've been going out trying to get money for things, and then we go and give it to PETA or whomever, and they do their campaigns, and sometimes they get a little action, sometimes they don't, but they're never going to compete with McDonald's. They're never going to compete with the
if animal charities had a bigger marketing budget than the animal industries,
they never will.
They would if a load of people gave money to animal charities. Yeah, they would. Of course they would.
You're dreaming. Like, that sounds so naive. And you laugh me off when I ask people to simply say no at the airport. Like, to simply say no when a policeman asks them a question. I'm not answering questions. To be higher friction, to practice saying no to the bosses.
How does that like further any of the things that you want to bring about in the world?
Because it undermines their authority. They have created this system, and you need to start gumming up the works.
Basically, a good thing that we have police, isn't
slowing them down. A good person is good regardless of the presence of a policeman. Policeman.
But a lot of people aren't good, so it's a good thing that we got police.
What's the point of the police again?
To enforce the law?
What's the point of them? Which laws? Like What laws do they protect?
The laws that the billionaire lobbyists want to pass. Oh no! Shit.
There you go. So it's a good thing that they exist, I guess. So that property damage happens. The number one crime in America is
no
wage
police, you and I
theft,
would be
and
fucked.
0 people go to jail for it. Crime in America, wage theft is hundreds of times worse in America than petty theft. Just regular old crime, sticking up people. And yet if you stick up someone, you go to jail for a very long time. But if you rob someone of $50,000 by stealing their wages, no problem at all. That's not even a misdemeanor.
What do you mean by wage theft? Is this a whole excess value kind of socialist analysis of labor?
No, just basic wage theft. Like you worked this hour and we didn't pay you for it, or you worked overtime and we didn't pay you time and a half, or we docked your pay because of XYZ. Actual crimes that are on the books and no one pays for it. It happens.
Yeah, well, that sounds bad. I mean, if companies are just stealing from employees, then obviously there should be consequences for that.
There should be, right? But we have mandatory third-party arbitration in most of these situations, so that nothing ever actually happens. But if you are stealing if you're stealing a few bucks in order to buy prescription drugs for your asthmatic kid, well, you can go to jail for 20 years for that. Like, the police are not there for your friends. They're not there to protect the people. They're there to protect corporations and people who own the capital.
I think it's easy to be anti-police until your house gets broken in the middle of the night.
I'll let you know. I've had my house broken into, and you know what? The cops weren't there. The cops are not coming to save you. I guess the cops are not there swinging their batons ready to jump into action like Batman. That's not what they do. You call them, they show up 2 hours later, and then they take notes. I've lived all over America. I've lived all over the world. I've had houses broken into, and they can't do shit. They do nothing.
Well,
they're not there preventing crime. That's such a fascist thing to say. Well, yeah, it's great to hate police until your house getting broken into. They don't do fucking anything when your house is getting broken into. That's just a lie that they tell you, and that belies your entire worldview. That you could we could just trust the police and the system and the government and the billionaires. They've always looked out for us. Like that's your whole premise.
I don't think that's my premise. No,
it is. The system works, and if we just use the system, we can tear down the master's house with the master's tools.
I don't really have some meta view as to whether the system works. That's not really how I think about things. But
Chris, if you're going to put so much faith in it, maybe you should start analyzing the system a little bit more, because you're putting so much faith in it, and it's like,
well, it's very intangible to talk about the system at large. I don't really know what your worldview is. I don't really know what kind of world you want. I just know that you are pissed off. I don't really know. I know you don't like airport scanners, and you don't like police, and you don't like billionaires, but I don't really know what you're for.
What do you mean? I'm a liberationist. I believe in freedom. I'm for freedom. I want more freedom and more power to the people and less power in the hands of the bosses and billionaires. How is that not you could call it anti-authoritarian anarchism if you want, but really I'm just talking about more power to the people, more democracy, less authoritarianism, totalitarianism, less surveillance, less despotism, less tyranny. I mean, isn't that what I'm saying when I'm talking about chickens? I'm not asking to give them bigger cages. I want no cages.
Well,
I want them to not be incarcerated.
Right? Because people, your freedom of your fist is limited by the proximity of my face. What most people want is loads of cheap animal products. So,
but they claim to want freedom, and you can't say the same thing. It doesn't stop at the species divide. You can't say I love freedom. Who cares what
they're saying if they're paying? What matters is what you're paying for. It's not who cares if you're I'm pro-liberation, but I'm also going to eat my cheeseburgers. I got to go to McDonald's, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. The feminist rapist, right? I mean, it's the same thing. But you're advocating.
I'm not for that. No,
you sound to me. You are. You're saying the person
eating
the animal says they're for liberation and welfare, but they're killing animals. But if they give $15 to an EA organization at the end of the day, then
they're giving them $15 is important, right? Okay. They're giving them where they're putting the money is very important. And you can't just say that you're against these things.
Not more important than their actions.
They put your money where your mouth is. Well, it is an action.
You see what I mean? You are putting so much faith in a system that is inherently broken, one that has impoverished billions, It kills 50,000 animals every second of every day, 365.
That's
And
because
yet-
that's a reflection of where people are putting their money.
It isn't. They
Yes,
are
of course
using.
it is. They're doing it
They're
for fun.
killing fish to feed. The cows are the biggest sea predator at this point because of a system of a shell game of moving money, because the dude who owns the fishing concern is the same one who owns the dairy. Like, this is a sick,
Well, whatever you think
disgusting.
about that, it
it's
can't
rotten.
sustain if people are not buying the products.
It is. It doesn't matter because there's no other choice. They've already rigged that.
All right. Well, look,
You have to say no to what they say, resist always, and work towards tearing down this system and trying to replace it with something that the people are in charge. I don't think that we can get there through capitalistic means. Like, capitalism's going to save us all one day because the invisible hand that Adam Smith talked about. It's just like, we tried it didn't work.
I'm really not for it. Like, I don't have particular views on, like, is capitalism good or something like that. I'm like, this is the world we're in. We can impact things by where we put our money. We can increase factory farming by buying factory farmed products. Lobbyists can increase factory farming by paying more lobbyists to do that. We can decrease factory farming by not buying factory farm products. We can also then we break even, right? We can actually decrease factory farming by like paying our way towards employing lobbyists on our side. Like, what if all the animal advocates got together and employed some pro-animal lobbyists? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like,
I get it.
Right?
You're still saying that if I, rather than invest in my neighbors and try to figure out,
that's not mutually exclusive with trying to have a socialist revolution or whatever you want. Like, I don't put words in your mouth, but you can also advocate for whatever other kind of systemic changes that you want to see, whilst also being like, this is what we have at the moment. Let's try and interact with it constructively.
But we have tried to interact with it constructively, and it hasn't done us a lick of good, and it hasn't helped any animals.
No, I disagree with that.
I
disagree with that.
The numbers don't bear out. Like, you say, well, we've slowed down the bleed or something like that.
You have to look at the counterfactual. Yeah.
Nonetheless, if I could convince, like, when you're magic wanding and you're saying, if I can convince 100 million people to ban soy burgers, say that wouldn't fucking matter. Having 100 million people say, I demand the heads of those 900 billionaires over in the United States, that would probably make a much bigger difference. And
I just don't know where that gets you. Like,
because you cut out the people who are actually doing the damage.
If you still have all of the consumers wanting cheap animal products, you're going to have some other asshole come up and make a factory farming product like company.
When they have to kill the animals themselves and you take away all their money. You're talking about taking away their money, but you're digging in the wrong place. You're trying to get consumers to try to take away their money, but that's not where most of their money's coming from anymore.
Listen, if I have access to billionaires, I'll tell them the same thing. Like, give to these organizations, they can reduce that, right? And that largely is where the funding is coming from.
If you have access to billionaires, slip a knife between their ribs, because the only good one's a dead one. Like,
look, the only rich people I know give a lot of money to animal charities. Okay, so we're keeping them as ones around.
Yeah, sure, great. Let's keep them around. They're doing a lot of good out there.
Yeah, 100%, of course.
Yeah, everything's working out great.
We're moving things in the right direction to a greater extent than we could if we had zero funding for animal charities. Like, I don't know how that's not obvious.
I don't know. How long have you been vegan, man?
About 7 years.
Have you seen any change?
Yeah, the rate of veganism is going up. We're going to pass cage-free laws in the UK. The rate of cage-free farming has been going up. There's way more plant-based products than there have been, like, even 10 years ago. All sorts of things are going in the right direction.
There's more consumer choice. That is what it boils down to, and we're hopefully going to have
on some dimensions,
cageless concentration camps. I mean, it's just a weird thing for me to be like patting ourselves on the back. If in 7 years that's what we accomplished, that's pretty sad, dude. It's a sad state.
No, I think things. Listen, I think it's been decent rate of progress. You can't, like, I'm not expecting, hey, we're like maybe a few months from the revolution where we dispatch all the billionaires and then somehow we won't have factory farming anymore.
Maybe we should start making bolder claims. Maybe in a generation we can get this done. Maybe in 20 years we could have it done. But this idea that like, oh well, we'll just keep on plodding along, and we'll have more soy burgers available at the local market, and
Listen, if you could convince me that advocating for some other thing is going to be more effective at helping animals, then I would do that. That's what I care about at the end of the day.
Yeah, but your claim is that if I eat animals and give money to EA charities, I'm a good guy.
Look, I do say that. Well, no, it's not about being a good guy, but it's about you would be helping more animals than if you were not giving the money and not eating the animals. I do think that's empirically correct, but that's not the main thing that I advocate for. Again, I think people should be vegan as well, and part of what I advocate for is people trying to persuade other people to be vegan. So I'm not like mainly like, hey, we should all not be vegan and give to these charities. That's not.
No, but you're saying we need to be vegan and not be intimidating, not be tougher about that. We need more dangerous vegans.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. I think some of the most effective activism that you can do is going to be very disagreeable and seeing the factory farm footage, seeing the slaughterhouse footage. I'm not saying that we should like just try and be liked all the time. No, not at all.
But if you want to affect change, then just do a recurring donation out of your paycheck to an EA altruist, effective altruist organization.
That is one of the ways that you can do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Effective altruists, meanwhile, are building just faster electric shocks for shrimp and quicker ways to kill clams, and it's like, how is that helping anybody? I don't know why you think that that's ever going to help anybody. We're going to do. Like I went to AVA. I sat through an effective they just shouldn't even call it AVA anymore. They should just call it the Effective Altruist Summit is what they should call it. The EA Summit.
Well, I think they have their own summit, but yeah,
they have their EA there's a big EA contingency over at the AVA.
Yeah, well, that's good though. That's good. Well, obviously, we want that. What's the alternative? Do things ineffectively.
What's the alternative to say that again? I'm sorry.
The alternative to doing things effectively is doing things ineffectively.
Yeah, I suppose, but I mean, I don't think it's effective. I don't think anything is good. I don't see any upside.
What do you mean? Building anything is good?
To building a faster way to kill shrimp. And you're saying, and the argument with the EA is that it reduces suffering. And so as long as you're in that mindset that the goal is to reduce suffering, you'll come up with all these crazy new devices that kill animals more quickly. Or maybe we could grow cows without heads on them so they don't experience pain. It's like,
that'd be best. Yeah, I'm signing up. Well, obviously, if the cow's not sentient, what's the problem?
Perfect. Let's put a lot of research in that. Let's torture lots of cows and let's torture lots of slave animals, lots of mice, so we can figure out how to grow them without heads.
If it's feasibly going to end up in we can have a zero animal suffering farming system, obviously that's a good thing. What do you think about cultivated meat, for example? Like, we can take animal cells and grow that into bits of edible meat. Now, it's going to be owned by billionaires and like whatever, right? So, but
I think it's again another bullshit red herring that tells us that, of course, because when I went vegan, they were telling me that one of these days there's going to be a new product on the market. It's going to be a burger that tastes exactly like burger. It's going to be the same price.
We've got a hell of a lot closer, haven't we? In 20 years.
Of course, it tastes identical. You taste Impossible Burger, it tastes identical. You taste Beyond, it tastes identical. Now they have price parity. It doesn't make any difference. It has not helped. And so now they're promising they're moving the goalpost one more time towards this golden age we're going to get to one of these days when we just do it right. And so now we're going to do cultured meat or whatever. We're going to add more animal-free proteins to the menu, and we're going to have more options. Great. As long as those are constantly cast in the light as unhealthy, effeminate, or any of the things they like to say about those products.
Look, obviously that's bad, and that's why you need more research and funding going into the movement against that, right? Like, how can we frame these products effectively so that people want to eat them? Like,
we've done that, we've gotten there,
and yet we haven't done it enough.
That's what I mean. It's just more goalpost movement. You're just constantly kicking the can down the road. And meanwhile, we need a real revolution. It's also not just going to be about animals. We need a real, actual effective movement where people are actually doing things and not just writing checks and hoping that they can vote their way out of this.
Look, if you want to go in. I don't know how we'd say go into town. What do you say? Go downtown, something like that. Yeah. Okay, let's say you want to go downtown tonight, and you can call a taxi and take you there and pay a taxi driver. Like somebody could say to you, well, look, the real way to do this would have been to walk there with your own 2 feet, and if you're just outsourcing the travel and just giving someone some money to do it, achieve for you, like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you want to get to town or not?
Do you notice how you keep on framing this as like goods and services? And I'm
because he has a service. Yeah, that's a great framing of it. Yeah.
And I frame it as the difference between liberty and slavery, and you get to choose. I don't think that effective altruist even comes close to even bringing that up. It just brings up that, well, animals sure are used as products, and they do suffer. I don't think it's
mutually exclusive. Like, animal effective altruists could also be like animal rights advocates, but like I think it's.
But they aren't. They aren't. Well, usually you hear them. They're about reducing suffering. That's their whole thing. Reduction of suffering. As if we can put suffering on a spreadsheet. As if we even know the nature of suffering, by the way, which is always fun, because then you get into all these effective altruists who end up as ethalists and antinatalists and all this other stuff because the overarching concern is suffering. As if suffering.
Well, look, I think we are antinatalists with respect to farmed animals, right?
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about, but sure, yes, of course. I don't want to bring more animals in the world via rape and torture in order to kill them. Of course not. But that's slavery. Well, describing slavery, not antinatalism, right? Like we're trying to get to the point where we're not owning animals, exploiting their genitalia and reproductive organs in order to sell their progeny.
I agree that that's the goal, and the way to get there is going to be incremental. Like it just is.
Just like the way to get there is by praying a lot. I mean, there's no evidence that that's the case. We've been working, and there's no evidence in the history of any other social justice movement where we just did incrementally, and it all worked out. It's never happened before, but it's going to happen this time. Like,
look, I think there were incremental steps on most of the social justice movements that I can think of. Ultimately, there can be like some dramatic step changes, but there will also be incremental steps that are these are not opposing approaches. That's the main thing that I would say. These are not opposing approaches, and we haven't really spoken that much about welfarism, but like is not
welfarism is about reducing suffering, and the whole EA movement.
Yeah, it is, but it's also about increasing the cost of farming animals such that fewer animals are farmed. So like it's not that. Like a lot of people imagine that welfarists are saying, hey, if only we get the welfare condition to be good enough, then it's fine and animal farming can continue on indefinitely. That's not what it's about. It's a step towards elimination.
It's a pipe dream saying that if we just make it more expensive, that it's going to somehow capitalism will just play its part. But meanwhile, what actually happens
obviously we want animal farming to be more expensive. I don't know what that's
because animal farming because we've already tried that animal farming. It gets more expensive.
Trying it. It's an ongoing process.
And then those billionaires give money to the proper politicians, or they move to a state where they don't have to worry about this, or they go to a politician, they give that person money, that person goes and fleeces the taxpayer and then subsidizes their extra costs. I mean, we saw this just happened with bird flu. Bird flu, they murdered hundreds of millions of animals and then threw them in the garbage. And do you think the corporations picked that up? They think they picked up the bill? No, I picked up the bill. I paid for that. They took my money and they paid them for their dead chickens. And then just to add insult to injury, they tripled the price of eggs so that they made record profits that year.
It sounds like they did pay for it then.
They didn't pay for it. They made way more money. They tripled, like Cal-Maine eggs, their stock tripled. Their profits tripled. And they had no repercussions whatsoever for putting genetically similar animals in tightly confined spaces and getting bird flu and then murdering them by like disgusting means. We're talking ventilation shutdown, and we're talking about wringing of necks and CO2 chambers. And they did all of that, and the taxpayer picked up the tab, and they made record profits. But you're thinking that if we just make it more expensive, it's going to somehow work itself out. But there's no evidence of that happening.
Yeah, that is obviously one of the mechanisms that this moves in the right direction. I don't know what to tell you. like if there's nothing that we can do until there's enough people willing to not walk through airport security scanners and like tell their boss to fuck off, then
we need more of that.
we're going to be waiting for a while.
I don't know. I think that the sentiment right now is fall of the Roman Empire style shit going on right now. Right now, we have evidence that of things that we already knew. We already knew billionaires were buying and selling working class children and immigrant children, and now we have evidence of that. And there's our governments, both of our governments, are working very hard to obfuscate what happened, and we have evidence of it. We always knew since the feudal lords that they were buying and selling working class children. And now that we're seeing these things, I think we're going to have a lot more people. A lot more people are telling their bosses to fuck off. A lot more people are trying to return to earth style shit going on. So it seems like we're kind of ripe for something kind of massive to happen. And I'm really hoping it does. Meanwhile, there's a large group of people, mostly capitalists, saying, don't worry, the billionaires are your friends. If you just suck their dicks enough, they might help animals. And if you just give your money to the right people, they might help animals too. Like, or working class children or immigrants or whatever you care about. Just give the right people the right money and everything's going to work out. Well, we've been doing that. It hasn't worked out. They're buying and selling our children. They're eating cat. I mean, I saw the Melania movie. They literally have chicken eggs filled. They hollow out the chicken egg and they fill it with caviar, and they're eating it. I mean, it's like this opulence, this level of opulence.
You're the person who saw the Melania movie.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I do a show on my. Everyone should go follow Skyjack Morgan if you like anarchists ranting about the news. But, I do a news reaction show, so I had to go see the Melania movie for sure. You're not going to go see the greatest piece of propaganda of our modern era? Greatest piece of propaganda since Leni Riefenstahl. Brett Ratner's the American Leni Riefenstahl. Anyway, I just don't... I think it's... I don't want to be insulting, but it's like, I think it's a little cute to have so much faith in the system that you think that we're just going to write the right people the right checks, and that's somehow going to, in the long run, mitigate suffering somewhere down the line.
You seem to think it works on the other side, though. Like, if you could lobby and propagandize, like this is spending money. If they're spending money on lobbying and on marketing, we need to also spend money on lobbying and marketing. Like, that is how this works.
Well, I don't know. I think marketing is brainwashing. I think we need to get people to start thinking for themselves.
We should brainwash people towards the right things, though.
I don't think brainwashing them works because we don't have the tools to, or the money, and we never will have the money to do counter brainwashing. The only thing we can do is say stop brainwashing and wake up. These corporations are fucking you. The same people, those people who are selling you chicken burgers, are the same people raping your teenager. They're the same people buying and selling children. These are the people who are in charge.
I just don't have a coherent, like, I just don't know what you want people to actually do, though. Like,
resist. Say no.
But what does that mean? Yeah, but what does that mean practically?
I mean, I think I've already outlined it.
Kind of, but you said organize and have a book club and be high friction.
Yeah, like, book club for sure. Be high friction is absolutely
right. Yeah, but what does that get us?
Book club, I think, is just a really low entry point for community. But I'm not saying everyone should go out and join book clubs in order to change the world, even though maybe it will. Maybe reading is always good. I mean, but trying to convince people to read is a little bit of a joke as well. I think that we need to be critically thinking and encouraging others to critically think, to tell people to resist, to let people know their rights, to educate people about what rights they have. And once they appreciate their rights, which they don't right now, maybe they will appreciate the rights of animals and realize that we are just another animal, another tribe of Earth. I mean, I know it seems more nebulous because I can't have this $ amount that I'm going to promise is somehow going to make change, but I'm not going to make you false promises. I'm going to say, get up, do something, become active, get out in the street, do what you can to say no to the bosses. And every time you see a piece of propaganda, ask, wait a second, is this true? With the higher degree of certainty that they tell you something, the higher your incredulity should become. But we just keep on investing in the same system. We're just going to be victims of that system, and the animals worst of all.
Well,
I mean, they're just the most politically vulnerable. It's just another hierarchy. We need to reject that hierarchy.
I agree. It's a good thing for people to think critically and for people to educate people to think critically. I think that is very important. I don't mean to be dismissive of that at all. Like that, obviously, that's a good thing. I'm just focused on what tangibly can people do. Everyday people are that they're realistically going to do, and I'm not. Even if I was allowed to tell people to go and bomb department stores, I don't think that would be effective.
I mean, I'm just asking people to think for themselves. I don't need an army of people who are giving $15 to their local charity or local.
Well, probably not local because, this conversation with 48.
Whatever, to join the billionaires. And of course, somehow we're going to convince billionaires to give us a little piece of the scraps from their table that we're going to somehow help animals while they don't believe in any of it. They don't believe that animals are worth anything. They don't think you're worth anything. If they're giving
to animal charities, presumably they do believe in it. They don't have to do that. There are billionaires that give a lot of money to animal charities, and God bless them. Yes, I will suck off those billionaires.
Yes,
they don't have to do that.
Yes.
They can just roll around in their money all day for the rest of their lives if they want to. There are billionaires who really are, they have the choice. Shall I give a load of my money to this and to this cause, or shall I just keep all of my money and fucking spend it on myself and spend it on hedonism, whatever? They don't have to be supporting the movement, and they have to do some kind of charitable giving, or else they know that we're gonna.
Yes, they do. Because we'll show up at their houses eventually with pitchforks and torches. And
you seem to want to do that regardless.
They also get, yeah, of course I am, but because I don't believe their bullshit. I don't believe this pittance that we'll give you a scrap off the table. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll suck you off all day.
I don't see how.
Meanwhile, we give them tax benefits for every penny that they deign to throw us. For every penny they deign.
Well, look, no one's saving more on tax, but that's a misconception. No one's saving more on tax by giving to charity. You'll never be better off by giving to charity than if you just kept it and paid tax on a portion of it. That's a lot of people think that, but it's not correct. Look, people don't have to give to charity. Nobody has to do that. That's why it's charity. Some people who have a lot of money genuinely give hundreds of millions to charitable causes. Obviously, that's a good thing.
That's right. Then we just need more vegan billionaires, and then problem solved, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah, that would be based. Yeah.
Based. Yeah, sure. Let's all work on that. Let's
think the billionaires get there.
Let's all work on convincing billionaires. I'd rather.
That's very high leverage. That would be based. Yeah.
It'd be just as base to walk up behind them and execute them like Luigi. This is not that was more based. That was more based to take out a mass murdering billionaire was more based than saying, let's find the good billionaires.
Well, I think that guy just killed a company executive,
suck them off long enough to try to get a scrap from their table so that we can somehow funnel that into.
You seem to think that billionaires can get their way and shape everything and lobby and propagandize and brainwash. Don't we want them doing that for us? Don't we want them doing that for animals? By the way, I kind of thought that you were mainly a vegan guy when we set up this debate, which I appreciate that you are vegan and do talk about it to some extent, but I was looking at your content the other day. Clearly you're much politically broader and have broader interests in that. So I'm kind of interacting with you as if you're a vegan who disagrees with, which you are, but you know.
Well, my channel started out as a vegan channel. It was called Vegan, of course, and then I did. I went on the road with PETA for 18 months or something, and traveled the country and did all these things. And
that's based. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Drove the chicken fat. That sounds great. That sounds excellent.
No, yeah.
I'm not skeptical of those efforts. I think that's awesome that you did that. I think it's probably quite effective as well, to the extent that you're showing factory farm footage and slaughterhouse footage. There is good evidence that is the way to do it in terms of convincing individuals. And by the way, that's not so. I think you do get people seemingly in effective altruism as well who are like, oh no, that's somehow bad, it's cognitive dissonance, it's whatever. I think they're missing the point. All the evidence that I've seen on that particular question is supporting that, showing the slaughterhouses, showing the factory farms, putting the animal suffering in front of people's faces is an effective way to change their behavior. And it's not going to make you popular, and it's not going to be people aren't going to want to see that, but that is good at changing behavior. So fair play to you for having done that.
Well, no, I mean, I really just wanted to speak up for animals, and the more I went out there and did all of this outreach and talked to so many people across the country, the more it became apparent to me that people don't even have the basic critical thinking skills to even properly question what they've been fed their whole lives, to even question what an animal is, what freedom is, what slavery is, things that we take for granted as concepts, they haven't even broached. So what happened was, I mean, I always did a daily show on my channel where I talked about mostly veganism, mostly animals, animal rights and liberation, and a little bit of politics because there's overlap. And then it's probably 80-20, you know, and now it's the other way around because of, well, it's an existential crisis in the United States. I'm talking more about politics these days because, I mean, we're talking about taking away citizenship rights from people in this country. And so it's just changed. I mean, I'm still an animal activist. I'm still someone who, I've been vegan for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm not having to go even in the politics stuff, by the way. I think it's totally valid. You can talk about what you want to talk about, of course.
Well, I think they're inextricably linked, and by talking politics, I get a bigger audience now, and I get more people.
Supply and demand.
Well, no, with a bigger audience
More
about
political context than there is for vegan content, probably.
People are more. Oh, it's funny. I talk with conservatives who disagree with me on a lot of things, but then they start going, "Wait, about that thing you said about animals is actually right on. It's actually exactly aligned with my values." And you see that a lot with anarchism, like a lot of anarchist outreach. You have to go to places that are like the places that people like 3%ers. They were, you know, they're racist organization, but a lot of those guys that got involved in that shit were people who just didn't like the government and didn't like the bosses, didn't like the billionaires. They felt disenfranchised. And so somebody sold them something. They sold them a different, some brainwashing, like, oh, it's those immigrants that are to blame. And so that so we have to go to where the people are and try to get them to start thinking for themselves. I don't know how else, if you're not going to go to where people are and convince them to think for themselves, there's no amount of outreach to billionaires that's going to help, because they're just going to keep exploiting animals. They're never even going to think about anything else.
Well, I would think that I agree that encouraging people to think critically about these things is important, and also challenging. And like, yeah, if you watch any amount of vegan activism on YouTube, it's always, you know, people predictably coming up with the same kind of responses. I just think that if we had resources to have loads of people doing that, that would obviously be a good thing. If somebody could pay you full time to like have those conversations and be persuading people and like, that would be a good thing. And the animal movement isn't like naturally revenue generating in the same way that businesses, goods and services are. And so it relies on charitable donations. And so like people giving money to the charities, and hell yeah, if we can get some billionaires giving money, like a large portion of the animal movement's funding comes from like a few rich people. And God bless that they exist. Otherwise, we'd have like half the resource, or probably less than half the resources that we have, and we'd be reaching even fewer people. So, I think a lot of this stuff we're not really disagreeing on. We have kind of a different focus of like where in that process that we're looking. But again, I don't think that our approaches are incompatible.
Not incompatible, but one has to happen before the other. And I don't know that there's ever going to be it seems. It's like watching a superhero movie and hoping that the superhero is going to come and save the day. And those superheroes are billionaires. And we don't have to practice any agency or have any hard conversations or have.
Well, I'm saying we should also be given to the charities and doing, like, I'm saying that everyone should be doing that. But obviously it's a good thing if billionaires also do it.
I don't think, I mean, I don't think that's enough of an inconvenience. We always are saying like, it's not an inconvenience, just, you know, do this tiny little thing. And if we all do that with enough drops in the ocean, we're going to make this huge difference. But really we need people that are going to go out and express their own, exercise their rights and express their own agency in ways that are caustic and high friction. Something that I talk about a lot. Being high friction and not going along with the status quo is the first step, because these people they can't even see the status quo. They have never looked behind the curtain and seen that there's a little man and he's not a giant wizard. They've never done that. But we're expecting them to somehow just magically have that happen. But
I think.
I don't know.
Well, no, we're at 2 hours, and
Yeah.
we'll
And I've been live for 4, so I do.
Okay, fair play to you. Yeah. You made a sterner stuff over here. But yeah, fair play to you. Look, I think.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can ever be an inspiring. I don't know how we're ever going to inspire people by saying that you don't have to do much. You just got to give your $15 to these charities, and everything's going to work out. Just keep your voice down, keep your head down. Everything's going to work out if we just put a little bit more money. Like,
I think that look, it's not about keeping your voice down. I'm saying speak up. I'm saying share things.
You said yourself that you're not trying to do things that it's not inspirational. It's not jazzing anybody up. No one's getting their dick hard over $10 a month, $15 a month of the thing, right? Like,
you can give more than that. Like, if you get hard at $200 a month, then go for
it.
Like,
nobody.
Look, I give hundreds of pounds a month to charity, and I advocate people to give as much as they feel they can afford to. I'm not trying to advocate for things because they're boring. I just think that the answer is actually quite boring. It's like, oh, well, actually there's professionals who are quite good at doing this stuff and they just need funding. So if we can all fund those professionals, like, that's not as much fun as burning down a Macy's, but it is, I think, more effective, and more people are going to be willing to do it, and like that, it's quite convenient that those two things go together, because like if you have someone pointing that out. That said, I have a smaller YouTube audience than you, so obviously it's not as exciting to talk about like the things that I talk about. I'm like, share things on social media, give money to these charities as much as you can afford to, and do the email campaigns and stuff like that. Obviously it's kind of fucking boring compared to like stab your boss in the face. Like,
you have it doesn't have to be stabbing your boss in the face, but you still have to lead with why, and it can't just be this lackluster promise of if we do it enough then we might get bigger cages for chickens. I'm talking about big ideas like liberation, big ideas like bodily autonomy.
Well, look, I'm talking about ending factory farming, and I think that we can do that if we do enough of the stuff that I'm talking about. And I'm like have set up the channel geared towards people who are already vegan and bought into that, so I don't talk about the why so much, only because I'm like, my assumption is my audience kind of already knows that.
Yeah, you preach into the choir. I used to do a lot of that too, and it's fine. I mean, we need people who are rallying the base, right? But I mean, it does seem particularly English, doesn't it? Like, I'm just going to politely ask you to do this thing, and if you just do it enough, and you just stiff up a lip, chap, and keep calm, carry on, everything's going to be all right. And I'm here talking about rebellion and revolution. I don't know.
That seems particularly American of you. So maybe we've both got a place. Yes. Maybe we've both got a role to play.
I think it might be a cultural difference, but
that's right.
but I'm living
we'll be all right.
But I'm living in a country where we really have people who think that we should have a king. So I mean, we're having an
we do have a king. I'm living in a country.
You do have one. Yeah, it's funny. How was that no kings protest there? Yeah. We saw it on TV over here in London. There was a no kings protest. It must have been awkward.
All right, well, look, that might be a good place for us to leave it. Hey, yes. I really enjoyed having you on, Sky, and I'll be very happy to talk again if you're up for it.
Of course, always. I'm always good for the Hegelian dialectic. It's been a pleasure. Everyone should subscribe.
They warned me it'd be good content. Yeah, they warned me.
Yes, indeed. All right, thanks everybody.
All right, mate. Take care of yourself, okay?
Goodbye. Do I just hang up? You want me to hang up?
Yeah, go for it. No, you hang. Oh, he hung up. Well, there you go. That was pretty good convo, I thought. Was I making my case compellingly? Obviously not to Sky, but hopefully for you guys I was. Let me do this without breaking my whole stream right now. There we go. Goodness me. Well, There won't be that vegan content. That was good fun. I mean, I've not done that many debates with actual content creators, but there's a real, I guess the market has selected for the most entertaining people. That guy was good. That guy was good fun. I don't know. I actually have some unreleased convos with other content creators, vegan content creators, which I'll probably drop at some point. I have an unreleased brief conversation with Vegan Gains, who I just... Oh, my bad. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the shout. Yeah, I have an unreleased brief conversation with Vegan Gains, who I kind of bumped into and was in a Discord VC one night and managed to get on VC and chat to him a little bit, and that was quite good. He was, again, like, delivering the hot takes, delivering the content, like, do you know what I mean? It's really... content creators are content creators for a reason. Especially the popular ones, like, you get popular by being entertaining, I guess, not by being right necessarily. That's only like a 5-minute call. And then we've got... I also did a dummy debate with the Militant Vegan. And that was pretty good as well. She's very good. She took the position of the carnivore guy who I debated, that Matt Acton guy. And Militant Vegan was like taking his position in order to kind of train me for the debate. And that was pretty good, I thought. I haven't worked out how to release it with her voice changed. She said don't put my actual voice out there saying the pro-meat things. She's got too many ops for that. But she said you can do it if you can do some sort of voice distortion on my end. I was like, oh, let's try and work out how to do that. I haven't worked it out yet. So if anyone knows how I can do that, then LMK, because I've got about an hour-long unreleased debate with the militant meathead. I probably release the Vegan Games one, though. That's pretty good as well. Oh, I know they're going to pop on the channel as well. Whenever you have something with people who are well-known, they always do well. My Michaela Peterson video did very well. Now, of course, it's mostly Michaela Peterson fans, but, you know. Yeah, that's right, Oppenheimer. Very briefly in a VC, like, about a year ago. It's a little bit of a rogue conversation. That's why I haven't released it, but that's probably even better for the algo, honestly. Everyone knows a fuckload of money is better than a shitload of money. Yeah, true. Yeah, I have to drop those at some point, hey. Try to bring out the Fast Action Network to him is getting more annoyed by each donation mentioning it. Damn. Well, can't say you didn't try, Poe. I appreciate that. Pissing into the wind is, people say it to mean something pointless, but really I think it's something brave. You know you're going to get pissed on you if you do that. You're going to do it anyway. Fucking fair play to you. Oh, we got... do you know what's interesting? So, when I debate the meatheads, if they put out a call... Like Todd Thurman the other day put a call on LinkedIn and said, oh, I'm debating this vegan, pro-meat people come in the chat so that we're not overwhelmed, whatever. I was like, oh, good, you know, this is all viewers. But what is interesting is they seem to come back a lot of times. So we get some regular meatheads in chat, which I don't hate, honestly. You know, it's it makes for an entertaining chat. Plenty of good clips in there. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. You know, what's kind of toxic is the most entertaining part was when we were just shouting over each other. I guess that's good TV, right? There's no prescription given by Sky, no argument presented by Sky, we're just pressing on that. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that, Lee. I think, I did say a couple times, like, what do you really think people should do? And I think, I wouldn't mind if it was, like, specific things that he's advocating for, but I ultimately disagree with or think are ineffective. But a lot of it is just so vague. Like, I have a real focus on doing things that are going to be, or advocating for things that are going to be very, very, very tangible. Here's the website you can go to. Here's the charity. Like, here's where you click to put in your card details. Here's where you can do the, Fast Action Network and things like this. Like, super, super tangible. Literally go to this website, do this thing. But when it's like, be high friction and resist and fight the system, like, I don't know what that means. Just resist, bro. True. Sky and Chip arguing is a lot of fun. Ah, okay. I saw some clips of them on stream together. I haven't watched that debate, but maybe it's worth a watch. I mean, the guy's entertaining. That's what I mean as well. Like, saying more tangible stuff is also kind of more boring. Or I guess not necessarily, but it just so happens that the things I talk about are both tangible and boring. You know, funnily enough, in the vegan gains convo, I would go onto the VC and I'm like, what do you think about this email campaigns? Like, maybe we could all email producers and try and get them to have better standards and stuff. And he's like, he goes, I think what we really need is a Gundam so that I can blow up these factory farms. And I didn't know what Gundam was as well. I was like, what is that? Is that a weapon? And I Googled it later. It's like a Power Rangers monster type thing. It's like a transformer or something. I was like, not that practical, but he's got more viewers than me, so obviously more entertaining. Do you have any sort of outcome evidence of the effectiveness of animal charity, something that might convince him? Yeah, I mean, we could get into looking at, like, the main thing the animal charity evaluators judges on is they'll have intervention theories of change that are going to be, like, make sense as to this is going to reduce animal farming. And then also which organizations are doing them most cost effectively and well. The thing that I kept wanting to bring up is, or I don't know, I didn't want to get into like screen share. Look at this graph. Maybe I should have, but again, it's a little bit more boring. But the rate of cage free, we often look at that modern data. Oh, here it is. For cage free, like you're saying, we haven't made any progress. Like, this is when my guy went vegan in 2005. He said it's like less than 3% cage free in the US, 30% cage free in the UK. So since then, yeah, there have been massive gains. Actually, there is also Bryant research for graphs. So this would have been some, but this is more making the point that we have made progress. So this is per capita meat consumption in the UK, going down in the last 10 years, 17%. Red meat down 37%. Number of vegans going up over a few years. This has been a little bit more up and down in the intervening years, but the trend is up overall. This is vegetarian food sales, as we know. This has been struggled a little bit since then. So this was kind of published, well, this is published 2022, so it's kind of, some of these last trends at least were about to get in the wrong direction. But yeah, I don't think the fact that there are more animals being farmed is evidence that, well, of course it's not, right, is evidence that nothing we've done has worked. Those are just not dispositive. Like, both of those things could be true. Billie Eilish last year made a multi-day concert 100% vegan. I would have asked if that was a good or bad thing. Since supply and demand aren't real, it was neutral. Yeah, that was a weird. I really wasn't expecting that. Early on, he was like, being vegan is not about having. Did he say that? Am I imagining this? He said something to the effect of being vegan is not really about having fewer animals farmed or making fewer animals suffer, or something like that. It's more just about an expression of who I am. I'm like, who cares who I am? Do you know what I mean? Like, animals don't care who I am. If I thought that whether or not I ate animals had zero impact on number of animals farmed or animal suffering, I wouldn't bother being vegan. If I thought it was literally disconnected, had zero correlation with animal farming, I wouldn't go to the trouble. Should have shared this. He was literally asking for evidence. Yeah, that's pretty true. I probably should have, honestly. I get the strong sense they would have poo-pooed it. But yeah, people said to me, he's a talker. He's a talker. He'll go off on one. You're gonna have to keep track of where we are. That's definitely true. And I'm a little bit of a ummer and ahrer and hesitator and slow talker and stuff like that. So it's kind of, again, if you're quicker at talking and concerned about the quality of the content, you're going to jump in and cut me off after a single point. It seems like more the thing to do than sit here while he finds his next sentence. I don't know. I need to get better at that. I said, oh, it's actually managed to free 5 million chickens from cages. He said, welfarism isn't my thing. Yeah. I kind of thought we were going to talk more about that as well. But I hadn't really consumed any of his content, which I probably should have done. I feel I'm being critical now. I feel the conversation went quite well. I feel that I expressed most of what I would have wanted to. Probably could have brought up some of this evidence. You're not wrong about that, vegan stem. But I don't think there was really anything that made me change my mind there. It was way more like he talks about a lot broader stuff than veganism, and so it was a lot more about like anti-capitalism and stuff like this than I was thinking it would be. He does like to talk. True, he does. He does. I mean, that's good for a content creator, right? You don't really want, you want to talk max. Boycott airport scanners. Step 1, boycott airport scanners. Step 2, be late for your flight. Step 3, no vegan food tourism on vacation. Yeah, that's kind of true. Or a deadlock combo, the incrementalism has never worked. Yeah, I wish I had more examples to my... even though he said that, like, incrementalism has never worked in social justice movements, I was thinking, like, I'm sure there's loads of incremental steps that, like, the suffragettes had. Landowning women can vote first or something. I don't know the details of it, so I didn't really go into it, but yeah, it does seem to be the case that there is, like, step change things that are, there's the Civil War, and then that's like ultimately there was the end of slavery, but I don't think that that's incompatible. Hey, Roger Yates in chat. How's it going, Roger? Nice to see you. Let's hear it for the grassroots. Yeah, you might like that guy, Roger. He's I don't know. He was a little more wacky. I enjoyed our convo. I thought that I enjoyed both these combos. But yeah. Yeah, I wish I'd had more examples to mind of incrementalism in other social justice movements. I'm sure that there are examples abound. Would have used feminism. There's literally waves of feminism. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Again, I don't know the detail. Yeah, you've read up on feminism. That's probably a good example. I wouldn't know the details to go into it. Scottish debate styles in line with the carnivores. Nothing matters. We don't have any good evidence to do the thing I want to do. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't. I feel like I thought of a few examples when he said, "Oh, how long have you been vegan?" And I said 7 years. He said, "Well, have you seen change in that time?" I was like, "I think there has been things that changed in that time." And I think I said like 3 different things. So I was quite pleased with thinking of them on the fly. So much of it's about thinking on the fly and just I know that, but can I remember it right now? Like in my natural habitat and research, I'm writing reports or doing spreadsheets, and you have all the time to go and research the thing and bring right. And so often I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is correct. I need to go and find the details of that and bring it to bear and put it all together and stuff like that, right? But when you're like, live conversations are hard, man. I'm very much, especially on LinkedIn, I'll be like rabble-rousing, or I mean, that's not the right term, but quite aggressive in challenging people to come and debate. And for the most part, people don't want to do it, which is kind of like makes you look as if you've won the interaction. And honestly, in most of those cases, I'm like, I know I'm right about this thing. Like the vegan and IQ thing, when I spoke to that guy on Tuesday, he didn't really disagree with what I had to say about that to any extent. Which I thought was good. He must have gone and looked at that and then thought, oh, I can't really find a place to stand where this doesn't seem to be the case. Chris Bryant's controlled by billionaire Apple scanner manufacturers. True. My RL friend Bryant, I read up on slavery and it was very incremental in the 1800s. Whole welfarism, incremental change never worked. Talking point is just false. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know that much, but it strikes me that there must have been incremental changes and improvements within the framework of slavery. And like the thing that he said about people would have to teach their slaves to read, I'm like, well, that seems like that'd probably be a good thing. Obviously, the slavery overall is bad, and we should be trying to end that, and we did end that. But it seems like it'd be a good thing in the meantime to A, make the slaves genuinely better off, and B, make it more expensive to have and keep slaves. Like, yeah, that seems like a step in the right direction, and it's not mutually exclusive. It's actually going to be complementary with efforts to end the system overall, right? Yeah, I appreciate that, Stiska. Exactly, Hunter Obey. Hunter Obey. I like it. You're surprisingly based because you have a kind of username makes it sound like you might be a carnivore guy. But yes, exactly. Bigger spaces would literally make it so less animals could be held in the same amount of space, likely decreasing rights violations. That's exactly correct. Stocking density is going to be like the ultimate welfare intervention. One of your skills is being agreeable without being weak. Interesting, Twisted Hippie. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's kind of a cool framing of that. I appreciate that observation. Seems to me self-evident that I am both lovable and strong, so yes, very wise of you to say so. So ending suffering by thinking others are objects talk. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think that's a necessary part of it. You can totally agree we shouldn't be you can totally think we shouldn't be farming animals at all, and to the extent that we are, we should make that so that they're suffering less and that it's more expensive to do. You can just have both of those views, and I know because I have them. I don't think there's any contradictions there. Yeah, what Twisted says, you most of your debates and the other person never crashes out and screams at you. Yeah, maybe I should get better at provoking them, to be fairly. We got close in this one. There's a good bit of shouting over each other about the halfway point. That'll be a clip. That'll be a short. Get that in the vertical format. Lovable and strong sounds like a toilet tissue advert. True. Oh, nice. Nicely. We got down the road of the tobacco causing cancer. I whacked this one out on LinkedIn quite recently, where people want to say that you can't say that anything is causal in the absence of long-term randomized control trials. Like, we don't actually have that level of evidence for cigarettes causing cancer, so I think at some point you probably just need to take a bit of a leap, right? You should debate Georgia. Yeah. Do you know what? I've thought about, like, where should I draw the line on debating people. I thought about this a bit after my acting debate. I was like, fuck, it's just degrading the quality. But it was quite good content. What I think where I would draw the line is I want it to be a person. I want it to be a person who will say, like, be on cam, or not even necessarily be on cam, but not be completely anonymous. Like, give their name and or face. Because I think if you're just debating random faceless, nameless people on the internet, I think that in itself is a bit of a disadvantage because they don't have anything to lose or protect. But yeah. Fluent thinker either. Based. Got him. Let me put up a little oh, look at that, I knew what I wanted. Here's the brainwashing. Here's the vegan 2.0 brainwashing. Let's do a little bit of this as well. We're having YouTube Studios audio library is coming in clutch. Because I used to play lo-fi on the streams and on the video sometimes, but then you get copyright struck. So now we play YouTube's approved copyright-free library, and we stay out of trouble. I'm being low friction right now. I'm clacking to the copyright system. That's why Nick quit debating. Yeah. I watched that video. That is a shame that he's not debating anymore, because he is a very good debater. Oh no! Okay. Maybe it's just said disconnected, but then it said reconnected, so hopefully I am still here. Yeah, Vegan Anthem, as ever, I agree with the spirit of what you're saying. And in fact, I agree with what you're saying to a large extent. I just don't think it's incompatible with welfarist approaches, particularly when you consider that in a pragmatic lens as like one of the tools in the toolkit towards ending the system overall. Yeah, nice to see you, Hunter. Cheers. Feed our rescue dog vegan food based. It was a little too lively for my liking. I'm going to use toxic supplements. Oh, brother. The supplements meme came up a little bit in the debate on Tuesday, where Todd Thurman said, oh, you need to take supplements if you're following a vegan diet. And I just watched Matthew Nagwood debate where he says, you can have diet A where you take supplements and have better health outcomes, or diet B where you don't take supplements and have worse health outcomes, which is preferable. And I said that. And straight away he's like, well, yeah, no, I'm not opposed to supplements. I know some people are opposed to supplements. I'm not opposed to supplements. I'm like, why have you fucking brought it up then? The supplements, but then I forgot to say the thing about animals having supplements. Like, we live and learn, eh? You know, I have been meaning to post some more debate bait on LinkedIn, because we're out of debates now. We gotta get the next debates lined up. We gotta get disagreeing with some people. Now, Patrick Raceroff sent me a good paper a little while ago. It was about micronutrients in plant-based meat versus conventional meat, but I can't remember the details of it. Let's find it. Because I know that's... I've been meaning to post that for a little while. Here it is. I can't download it now. Is it? I don't think it's this one. Oh, here he is talking about the paper.
Plant-based meats have consistently a higher nutrient density than meat.
Does he link the paper? Micronutrient intake and status of adults consuming plant-based meat analogues. Here it is then. So what I want to do is find the killer chart here. Do you know what's really annoying about this? This key sucks. Like, they both just look the same, don't they? This is animal-based meat, plant-based meat alternative. The point is that the plant-based meat alternatives are better, but you really can't tell from the key because both of these just look the same. Download high-res image. Yeah, they still look the same. For all foods provided the nutrient-rich food index by 100 cal was calculated presented in figure 1. NRF 100 cal of PBMA is consistently higher than ABM. Across all PBMA, the higher score is attributed to higher contents of nutrients, namely dietary fiber, vitamin C, vitamin E, calcium, iron, potassium, and magnesium. Let's see what Patrick has to say about it.
Derived from animals. The selection of plant-based meats include products from companies such as Beyond Meat, Impossible Foods, and
That's based. I can give them a tag. Vegetarian Butcher, Beyond Meat, Impossible Foods, Omni Foods.
The Vegetarian Butcher. This study looked at the nutrient intake and status of two groups of individuals randomized to consume either plant-based meats or the flesh of animals for 8 weeks. The selection of plant-based meats had a high nutrient density due to the higher content of nutrients such as dietary fiber, vitamin C, vitamin E, magnesium, potassium, calcium, and iron. Intake and status for most nutrients was higher for plant-based meats. Post-intervention, those consuming plant-based meats had higher vitamin B12 levels than those consuming meat derived from animals. Fortified vitamin B12 might have a higher bioavailability.
Oh, that's a great one. That's a great one. We'll use that.
A food having more nutrients does not necessarily mean that it is healthier, but the good news is that plant-based meats have better health outcomes than the flesh of animals based on the totality of evidence. Plant-based meats are not possibly carcinogenic, and they also tend to reduce cardiovascular risk factors compared to the flesh of animals, such as based on this recent review. Here we've got a brand new study in which
Okay, based. Well, we can do... We can just post this, I guess. This is the main bit. Can I do it like this, or I have to... Oh, I can do it like this. Nice. Now, let's put new randomize. Oh, it's control trial, control trial. I wouldn't say controlled. It feels like it should be controlled. I guess either is acceptable. Yeah, I'm seeing sources using both. I want to put controlled. That seems more thorough. Randomized control trial. Now, is this graph actually showing? This is showing nutrient rich. So this is not actually from the randomized control trial, is it? Oh, this is the results from the LCT, but that's a bit. I'm not going to post this massive table. Effects on biological micronutrient status. So this is what we would want. Ah, is this what we want? Compared to baseline, nutritional intake was improved and participants were in general better able to meet recommended dietary allowances. Dietary micronutrients intake for both groups at week 8 was referenced against RDA values presented in figure 2. Post-intervention participants in both treatment groups continue to meet nutrient requirements, thiamine, niacin, vitamin B12, and were also better able to meet nutritional requirements for vitamin B6. In terms of folate intake, a drastic increase was observed in the PD group. I don't know why they're using different terms as well. Plant-based diet, that must be. Surpassing RDA levels. The intake remained relatively consistent in the AD group. Yeah, I mean, at least here the key is a little bit clearer, hey? I feel like is it not backwards compared to the key above as well? They've really not nailed it on their figures for this paper. The results are fantastic, but they've really not nailed the figures. Tell you what, we could actually tabulate these. I won't do that on stream because it's a bit boring. But I feel like the thing to do is going to be make... Maybe I... Look at that, I am doing it on stream. Oh no. If this pastes properly, we'll do it. Okay, nice. Ah, fuck it, we've still got that. Alright, now this is going to be too long to do on stream, but I'll make this another time. I'll put it out. We'll rile up some meatheads, and hopefully one of them will come on to debate. Don't tell them I said that, though. It's kicking off in chat. This is why the meatheads in chat are quite good for engagement, honestly. So rile everyone up, and then the chat goes fast, and then we get good. It's good for the algo. I don't think I've ever seen my chat moving this fast, actually. Interesting what you think of my question. Let me find it, Yogurt. Yogurt vegan. Do we have any good evidence on the effect of welfare reforms leading people to purchase more animal products and be less likely to stop or purchase fewer of them, perhaps? Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. So the main thing that I focus on with the welfare reforms is the supply side effects, increasing the cost of farming animals, pushing up that supply curve, and getting people to, or like making animal products more expensive. And the main thing that people worry about with welfare standards is that it kind of gives permission to the consumers, and they're going to carry on eating animal products because they think, well, the welfare standards are high, so that's okay. I can never find the bit in this paper where I talk about it. I should put this on a slide as well, actually, because this is an often asked question. Here we go. So yeah, here we go. This is it. It's these two studies are the relevant ones. Tonser and Olnick 2010 found that media coverage about chicken and pig welfare decreased demand for pork and poultry over 10 years. More recently, Mercy for Animals tested this experimentally, again finding that reading about corporate policy reform or legislative reform which improved animal welfare decreased intentions to buy the relevant animal products. So yeah, a lot of times vegan advocates are a little bit hesitant of the welfare stuff because they imagine that it increases demand. I haven't seen a ton of evidence on this point, but the evidence that I have seen tends to suggest that it decreases demand. And I think what's happening there is just that most people are not thinking about these issues at all. So people are not aware of the standards on farms, and so when there's headlines that are like egg production systems to stop using tiny cages so that birds can't turn around, the average person reading that is like, hang on a minute, were we doing that? That sounds mental. And if you read a little bit more about it, they find out, well, like the reformed version is not that much of a step up for the welfare. So it just kind of like gets them thinking about animal welfare when they weren't before, even though it's ostensibly good news. Yeah, a vegan might worry that, hey, people now think that there's good animal welfare and so they're going to buy more. But actually what seems to happen is like that people are just prompted to think about animal welfare. And then as a result of that, they're like, actually, this is still kind of fucked even with the higher standards. So again, there's not a ton of evidence on this point, but yeah, it seems to be the case that welfare standards and like media coverage of them tends to, if anything, decrease demand for the relevant products. But again, that's I wouldn't say that with a great degree of confidence, basically. Right. I'm going to leave it there, guys. We had a good stream. We laughed. We cried. We debated. We debated in chat. And we'll get that LinkedIn post out more, provoke a little bit of discourse. Even if no one comes on stream to debate, it's quite good. I'll do the streams where we look at the meatheads commenting on the post, so that's good. But we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. It's honestly been awesome getting streams with Respond to Roger. Oh, hey Roger, showing factory farms welfare without the right claims making. Showing the factory farms equals welfare without the right claims making. I'm not exactly sure what that means, Roger. I probably disagree. Assume I disagree with you. Nah, we should chat again sometime, Roger. I enjoyed our convo the other day. But yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll see if we can get some more debates in the pipeline, because obviously that's the good content. It's having more people in the stream. Like, we've been up to between 20 and 30 people in the chat recently. I am used to streaming to sub 10 people. I don't mean that those people are not themselves tens. Of course they are, but fewer than 10 people, which I don't mind either. You know, kind of cozy. I like the core audience. You know, the day ones, the real ones, and the rest of you part-timers just turning up for the debates. No, but I appreciate you all watching, and we'll have more of that good content lined up. I want to grow the stream really as a means of helping more animals. So let's not forget the core of the message on this channel, which is to give more over at animalcharityevaluators.org, to share more on your chosen social media platform. And by the way, I have a new answer to the best thing to share, which is Vegan 2.0 in 5 minutes. If you haven't yet shared this, make it happen, because this is my most compelling case in 5 minutes for Vegan 2.0. And also to do more, we'll do a little bit of Fast Action Network. We haven't done any of that for a while, but here's the link. We've still got a 14-week streak. We're gonna be getting lapped by Tristan King and Poe. They're catching up with my points here, so I gotta stay ahead. Don't catch me slipping. I appreciate that, Stephen. Nice. Yeah, you're one of the OGs for sure. I appreciate you, Yoga Vegan. Thank you for saying that. Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you when are we streaming next. Probably stream on Sunday. Let me just have a quick look at my calendar there. Yeah, I'll probably stream Sunday afternoon. Sunday's always a good one. Sunday's always a good one. So I'll see you guys on Sunday for the next stream. Thanks so much. Cheers.